who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look.
Our challenges are great, but our will is greater.
There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America.
The United States will not ignore your oppression or excuse your oppressors.
All are equal, all are free, and all deserve a chance to pursue their full measure of happiness.
This is CNN.
Some of the most powerful people in America are arriving on Capitol Hill right now to witness President Obama's second inauguration.
And we're taking you into the crowds behind the scenes for this celebration of America.
A new beginning for a president who broke barriers.
My fellow citizens, I stand here today humbled by the task before us.
A day-long celebration on a fitting holiday, honoring a man who helped make Barack Obama's election and re-election possible. Soon, the president renews his oath before cheering crowds. His critics are fierce, his choices are tough, and America's future is in his hands.
We must pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and begin again the work of remaking America.
Crowds are growing on the National Mall. The 44th President of the United States is about 2 hours away from taking the oath of office. We want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world. I'm Wolf Blitzer. Vice President Joe Biden also will be sworn in on this stage in the shadow of the Capitol. Stand by for Gloria Borger's exclusive interview with the Vice President. She asks about the times he's made the president angry. We'll also talk to former Secretary of State Colin Powell about his support for the president and his concerns about his own Republican Party. First, let's take you across the National Mall to my colleague, Anderson Cooper. Anderson?
Yeah, Wolf, thanks very much. Inaugurations are logistical nightmares, as you can imagine. All the crowd control and security to protect the people gathering out here on the mall. And, of course, the president and other high-level officials. Some VIPs are arriving at the Capitol building. Our chief political correspondent, Candy Crowley, is on the inaugural platform where the top officials will be sitting. Candy, what are you seeing?
Well, just recently, we're up here, by the way, all the talk about blue tickets and stuff. Platinum tickets, that's what these are. That's platinum with a P, kind of stands for power. I've seen John Mayer's here, Cyndi Lauper, they just walked in. So we're seeing some entertainers, but I have to tell you, largely behind me, these are friends and families of power. A lot of House Rules Committee folks here, people who know House Rules Committee staffers who get these great tickets. Of course, the folks that are a cheer down from me don't need tickets. It's people like the Supreme Court members, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, family members, Biden's and the Obamas, etc. But up here has been a collection, really, of people, and some of them are newbies. It's not that these are power players. These are friends of power players. And so one of the men that I talked to here today is a daughter who works on the Rules Committee, and he said, this is my first time I've ever done anything like this. It's completely overwhelming. And he said, I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. He said, this is like a real moment, kind of an American moment. He looked up and said, I'm like right here by the Capitol, which is, half a football field away. The president may be, 100, 200, 300 feet from us when he gets sworn in. So a little different mood up here because of the kind of the closeness to all of this. I think it's awe-inspiring, sort of overwhelming, as this man said, but still lots of fun being had at the moment as they kind of await what's going to be a parade of the actual power players as they come in here and begin to get ready for this swearing in, this public swearing in, Anderson.
Also performances by Beyonce, Kelly Clarkson, James Taylor, all performing before the president gets sworn in, as well as the vice president. Our anchors, our correspondents are out in the crowds talking to people. We've been talking to them all morning. Christy Paul, Robin Meade, Don Lemon are spread out across the mall. Let's check in first with Don. Don, how's the mood there?
The mood is pretty cheery, pretty chipper. You brought the warmth all the way from the Cayman Islands. This is Marcy. Marcy came from the Cayman Islands. Thank you for the warmth. You said you
it's
brought
my pleasure. I brought an extra 10 degrees for you today.
You said that this means President Barack Obama's presidency means a lot to people around the world, and that's why you came here.
Absolutely. I don't know if Americans who live at home realize the impact that this election and the previous one had on the rest of the world. People feel warmly towards Americans in ways that they haven't for many years because of some of the other things that happened before. But President Obama has just made us feel proud, and it's just a great honor to be here today.
Yeah, and you said you missed the first one,
I
and
did.
there was no way you were going to miss it.
I know. I watched every minute of it on television, but I have another opportunity. Of course I'm going to be there. So, it's absolutely important.
Thank you, and we appreciate the warm weather. And where is Pat? Where are you?
Right here.
Pat, you what? How long did you ride on the bus here?
12 hours.
From?
Alabama.
Yeah, and your second time?
Second time.
And you wouldn't miss it?
For the world.
You think you have enough buttons?
Oh, I've got several more at home. I just couldn't bring them all. I love it. This is an opportunity that we never, ever really dreamed of. So it's a dream come true.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
And
thank
especially on Martin Luther King's birthday today.
Yeah.
We're living the dream.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Marcy. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. It's a pretty good mood out here, Wolf. You can see people are very happy to be here, and they're very happy that the weather is actually a lot warmer than forecasted, Wolf.
Let's hope it gets a little bit warmer. That would be good, Don. I know for you, for me, for a lot of people who have gathered here in Washington, D.C. Let's bring in our chief White House correspondent, Jessica Yellen. You've been doing some good reporting for us, Jessica. What else are you learning about the president, what he's planning on doing?
Hi, Wolf. Well, the president finalized his inaugural address over the weekend. He made some tweaks this morning, but he practiced in the map room over the weekend. That's on the first floor of the residence, and it's where he does all of his speech preps. He wrote it with his chief speechwriter, Jon Favreau, and circulated the speech among a small group of advisors who read all his important addresses. After the majority of the speech was finalized, he did continue to rework mostly for phrases and the pacing and timing of the speech. This is something he often does, I'm told, by his top advisors, that he hears rhythms and phrases in his head almost like a musician, and he'll continue to move a speech around just so he understands that pacing. Another advisor told me that they were just talking to him about how this event will be different from 4 years ago, because in 2009 he felt the weight especially of the economic crisis, and he realized that after the inauguration he'd have to go straight to the Oval Office and deal with the crisis that they were grappling with. And he didn't have much time to reflect on and savor this moment. And the president said that he is looking forward to today and to the fact that he'll really have a chance to take in this experience. Wolf.
Jessica, thanks very much. We're going to be checking back with you as well. Dana Bash is over in the rotunda inside the Capitol, getting some good access to folks who are arriving, including the spot where the president will be making his big entrance about an hour or so from now. Dana, what are you seeing? What are you hearing?
That's right, Wolf. This really is a great location because in the Capitol Rotunda, we will see the president minutes after the swearing-in ceremony happens. He's going to come through here, walk over towards the Senate side of the Capitol for a signing ceremony. What that effectively does, Wolf, is put himself and his cabinet on the payroll. But it really is an indication about how every single minute of this ceremony is choreographed for today's imagery and tomorrow's history.
This is where the president will start his walk towards history. Steps few take once, even fewer twice.
And so now we're in the crypt of the Capitol.
Right. The president will come down these stairs and emerge.
Senator Chuck Schumer chairs the inaugural committee and will personally escort the president down these stairs to take the oath. He took us first.
And I just want to be able to show our viewers what the president is going to see.
That's what he's going to see.
If we're right here, we're walking.
Right.
And Mark, if you can turn around, this is what he's going to see.
Exactly.
Right out these doors.
And then he will go out the doors, and there will be huge cheers, and there'll be people as far as the eye can see.
Inauguration prep began more than a year ago. Construction of the platform took 3.5 months to build. It's more than 10,000 square feet in size, using 22,000 sheets of plywood. It will hold some 1,600 people in stadium-style seating, so everyone here, from lawmakers to cabinet members to Supreme Court justices, have a view of the swearing in.
These are among the most coveted seats in America at any time, anywhere.
The only thing more exclusive, the post-inaugural lunch inside the Capitol's Statuary Hall.
So, Senator, this is where the actual lunch is going to be.
Yes, it is. The tickets for this are off the charts. You have senators calling and saying, I want to go. And
so not every senator even
No,
gets
it's
to
only
go.
220. It's only 220 seats.
The president and vice president themselves only get to invite about 40 people. The other guests are leaders and select members of Congress, Supreme Court justices and their spouses, and some members of the military and diplomatic corps. No detail is too small, especially the menu. By tradition, the senator in Schumer's position chooses it, so it's New York-centric. Wine, cheese, honey, apples for pie, all from New York.
That's great. Here we are. Look, everybody. Can I have a taste?
Yep, there's your fork.
He even did a photo op for his food. But the entree is bison from South Dakota.
We won't sacrifice quality. I wanted to use Long Island duck for the main course, but it didn't come out too good.
The Senate's curator has attended 7 inaugural lunches and says Presidents Reagan, Bush 41, Clinton, and Bush 43 all sat and ate their meal. But President Obama?
Did he eat?
No, in fact, it was the first time that a president barely ate.
Ironic, for a president criticized for not socializing enough, that's all he did, like a groom at his wedding.
He actually walked around and he visited every single person who was in that room. And I guess that was just his way of thanking them. Of course, he was so excited, I'm sure, being president.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
The iconic image of becoming president is taking the oath. Diane Scavarla is in charge of the Bible. This year, it's 2. Lincoln's Bible, which Obama used 4 years ago, and Martin Luther King Jr.'s, since it's also the holiday honoring him.
Now, very unusual to have 2 Bibles, yes.
The Lincoln Bible is borrowed from where it's housed at the Library of Congress. The MLK Bible, couriered from Atlanta.
We will take possession of it. We will keep it in our vault, basically in our museum room here at the Capitol. We will bring it out. We will handle it with gloves.
It's a lot of pressure.
So yes, but it's very exciting. It's very exciting.
Now, as far as those Bibles go, the Lincoln Bible is, of course, the same one the president used the last time around. It was the same Bible that President Lincoln used in 1861 for his first inauguration. That is here. It got here from the Library of Congress on Friday. The MLK Bible, that is new. He has never done that before. He is doing it because, for lots of reasons, but there's a special reason. Today is Martin Luther King holiday. That was actually couriered from the airport here on Saturday, and all of those, both of those, I should say, they are in a special vault upstairs on the 4th floor, and they're going to be brought down to the First Lady, who's going to be in a hold in the Senate dining room with the president, and she's going to bring them both out for the swearing-in ceremony. Anderson.
Dana, thanks very much. This is a president who has been criticized for his relations with Capitol Hill and how he deals with members of the Congress. Jessica Yellen, in this next term, do you see that changing? Do you see his strategy towards Congress changing?
Yes, I think he'll be more combative. I think that he has learned that he can't get as much done as he thought he could the first time, and he'll be more political in his approach. In other words, these are my bright lines. You guys come to me more.
David Moranis, Washington Post, you wrote the book, Barack Obama, the story. What do you make of the criticism of this president by some on Capitol Hill that he's not a backslapper, he's not a socializer? We saw him walking around the tables there 4 years ago, but there's been criticism that he hasn't reached out enough.
Well, you compare him to Bill Clinton or Lyndon Johnson, and that's true.
But anybody compared to Bill Clinton or Lyndon Johnson is not much of a backslapper.
He's not going to change really in that sense. He is who he is. He doesn't want to appear to be, authentic about it. And one of the things about Bill Clinton was that he was what I call an authentic phony. In other words, everybody believed what he was saying at the moment. And Barack Obama's always had a more difficult time trying to act that out. But as he said the other day, he thinks he's a nice enough guy. which sort of echoed what he'd said about Hillary.
Clinton,
Yeah,
right.
you know, she's nice enough too. So, but
that line didn't go over so well the first time. I'm not sure he should be
well,
repeating
he's talking
it.
about himself was a little easier, maybe.
Maybe. But does he enjoy politics?
Yes. Well, he enjoys politics, but he enjoys other things as well. So, you know, I think that he's learning how to really sort of merge that with the other aspects of what he enjoys, which is policy and the rest of life.
Anderson, can I say 2 words? Joe Biden. That's what Joe Biden is for.
Right.
He does the things the president really dislikes doing. I mean, if the president doesn't like to glad hand and he doesn't like to hang out with members of Congress, that's a little piece of heaven for Joe Biden. He loves that. So I think what they've established is a relationship which is, okay, I know we have to do this, says the president. Joe, go to Capitol Hill. You're the guy who cuts
President
the bill
Obama has said that you know he wants to be having dinner with his family every night. Is that the reason?
It's one of the reasons. It's one. He is a father of 2 young girls in the White House. They moved from Chicago, especially in the first term. They gave up their friends. They gave up their routine. And so God bless him for that, that's important to him. But the other complaint is just who he is. As David notes, he likes other things. He likes to sit down and watch Sports Center after the family goes to bed. He likes to do his own thing. He does like to golf. He took the speaker golfing, I think, once. Maybe we'll see more of that in the second term. But this is, Republicans complain about this, but we should be clear. This is a bipartisan complaint. It's the president is not just stiffing the Republicans. Democrats complain, not only does he not spend a lot of time with them in those kind of settings, but when they call the White House saying, can I send in a special group of my constituents, the White House says, no, we don't want to do special favors. So they complain,
I
too.
was interested to read just in Jody Cantor's piece in the New York Times that he hasn't even had Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton for dinner.
Well, let's be clear, I want to push back a little bit on this. It's not like if he were hanging out with those guys all the time, the Tea Party would all of a sudden fall in love with him and start moving his legislative process, legislation through. It's not that at all. I think we put too much on this idea of a personal relationship. Look, he puts forward. They're not going to love him. The Tea
And there's a
Party
lot of them. There's a lot of them who don't want to. There's a lot of them who don't want to be seen hanging out
with him at all. The former governor of Florida gave the president a hug, and he got primary.
But don't you think it's part of his job? I actually think it's his job to deal with people on both sides of the aisle, even ones he doesn't like. Now, every president has a different way of dealing with people, but to have members of your own party suggest to you, as I was told by a senior senator, said to the president, you need to have some people over so we can talk about this issue informally. And the president said, no, I'm not going to do that. I would argue that's his job.
What Gloria's speaking to is building trust with Congress. The sausage making is ugly. Joe Biden did a great job of it. But let's remember, the first term, you think about how you're going to get reelected. The second term, what's your legacy piece going to be? He's not going to have a major legacy piece unless he has GOP support, and here he comes.
Craig Robertson, Michelle Obama's brother, arriving there at the Capitol. Let's go back to Wolf.
Hundreds of thousands of people are now gathered here on the National Mall, getting ready for the inauguration of the President of the United States. The public swearing-in ceremony will be taking place very, very soon, and the excitement is building. Only moments ago, the former President, Bill Clinton, he arrived here up on Capitol Hill. There you see the video of the former president. He's walking in among the so many VIPs who have come to celebrate this moment in American history. Democrats, Republicans, people from all over the country, they are now here. It's taken months to build a special platform where the president, his family, and a who's who of VIPs will stand and sit for the inauguration. John Berman has a closer look at who gets to be on this presidential podium. John, give us the answers.
Hey, Wolf, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, they just took their seats, and we're just minutes away from more big names coming in. And when they get to their chairs, what they'll find, a blanket waiting for them, and also a name card. And the name cards here, a collection of the biggest names in Washington. We took a picture to show you how the whole thing is laid out. Take a look at this. Nothing gets you closer than genetics. Front and center, family. The president's family. Michelle Obama, daughter Sasha Malia, and other close family members. Next to them, the Biden family, children and grandchildren. The other folks in the front row, members of the Supreme Court, including the president's own nominees, Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan. Over here, the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies. This is an elite group chaired by Senator Chuck Schumer. Other choice seats behind the Obamas, presidential guests. This is friends of the family, also some big donors. I just saw Rahm Emanuel walk in right now. One person not going to be here, the designated survivor. This is the member of the cabinet who does not show up just in case the unimaginable happens. We do not know who that is at this point. Behind the Bidens, this will be the former power players, past presidents, a very rich tradition in our country. Bill and Hillary Clinton will sit there, Jimmy Carter, but no Bushes this time around. George H.W. Bush staying behind in Texas, of course, trying to recover from that illness that he's been suffering. And George W. Bush and Laura sent their regrets as well, said their thoughts are with the Obamas. They are surrounded by military power, the Joint Chiefs. They just took their seat. And behind the court, you have House leadership, other House members. Then over here, Senate leadership in the full Senate. The members of Congress, they're all smiles today, but with the battles ahead, those smiles, I suppose, could be changing soon. The nosebleed seats. Nosebleeds go to the governor's way out and back. And over here on the other side, the diplomatic corps. They're in the power bleachers, if you will. But, you know, on a day like today, there really are no bad seats. A short while ago, we saw John Brennan, the nominee for the CIA chief. We saw him walk in and take his seat. And the funny thing is, after he sat down, he took out his camera, walked to the edge of the balcony, and snapped a photo. And one person near me was joking, saying that maybe the new CIA chief is spying. Wolf?
And we see more VIPs arriving right now. I think that's Bob Mueller, the FBI director at the bottom of the screen with his wife, Bob Mueller, the FBI, long-serving FBI director. We saw the acting CIA director, Michael Morrell, walking in, and the incoming, assuming he's confirmed, CIA director, John Brennan, also coming in. We're watching what's going on this year. You can also be part of CNN's coverage of this presidential inauguration. Let's bring in Brooke Baldwin to explain how that can happen. Explain away, Brooke.
Wolf, everybody hold up your phones. This crowd has phones. This is the first time we've had a presidential inauguration with Instagram. This is the most socially connected political event ever because of these. And so we here at CNN are asking you, because this is about you. This is about the community. We want you to take a picture of yourself watching inauguration, watching the swearing in on Capitol Hill today. We want you to upload it to Instagram because this is about you sharing your view of history with us. Go to Instagram. Here's the key. You need to hashtag CNN. Make sure you include a caption. Why is this important for you to be watching this historic occasion here on this Monday in Washington? We've already gotten a couple of photos. Let me share just a few with you. You might recognize this first guy, country music legend Willie Nelson, actually watching our coverage last night of the red, white, and blue ball honoring our nation's men and women in uniform. One more, very early this morning, we have a beautiful, beautiful sunrise picture from a college student from Kentucky, drove all the way in. This is Jaden Botsford's photo bright and early at 4 this morning. We asked him why he wanted to be here this early. He said he wanted to document history. One more photo. I don't know if you recognize her shoulder. Guess who this is? Beyonce. Beyonce is singing the national anthem. This is her practicing early this morning, again with the hashtag CNN. But I have to share my favorite with you. This 5.5-year-old little boy from Phoenix, Arizona. His mother snapped this photo, if you see, he's holding up his right hand because he was watching the president yesterday on CNN during the private ceremony, the swearing in. And apparently his mom, Elisa, said, honey, why are you holding up your right hand? And he said, Mom, because the president looks like me. Thanks to all of you who've been sitting in pictures. We want so many more. This is a huge historic moment in Washington today. Go to Instagram, hashtag CNN. We want your history, your view of history shared with us and all around the world. Anderson, are you Instagramming?
I am, actually. Thanks very much.
There
all right.
we go.
We'll be doing that all throughout the day. Around 1 million people may be here for today's inauguration. The weather is cold, but it is very sunny. It is a beautiful day. We're going to be able to show you what it looks like actually from space, weather permitting. CNN's John King is at the Magic Wall. How are we going to do that, John?
Well, Anderson, we've watched as we've been sitting here. The crowd is filling in. Perhaps not as big as last time, 1.8 million people, but the crowd is filling in. It's getting a pretty impressive crowd, and we'll be able to tell by the end of the day thanks to technology up there, not Instagram, but satellite images. Just what? Let's take a look at 2009. If you look at the picture here, let's start here. Here's the United States Capitol. Then it flows out. Watch me come along the mall. We are right about here. This is where our booth is this year. You see the Washington Monument. You see the World War II Memorial. You see the Lincoln Memorial. In 2009, I'm going to stretch this out a little bit. You see the Capitol right there. Those are people filling in the seats there. You see these dots down in here. These are all people in 2009 as the crowd went in. You see it's a massive crowd. Here's the Washington Monument here. You see the people all around. Here's another way to look at it. Let me come back in time and bring it over this way. Let me shrink it down and make this come in for me here. And you bring it in here. Here's 2009. I'm going to pop out the Capitol just to show you. On a normal day, this is an image from 2011, a satellite flying overhead. That's what the Capitol grounds would look like. You see the grass. You don't see any people, right? Well, look at this. This is, again, the inaugural from 2009. This we expect to look just about the same when we get satellite images later today. The VIPs, the people in the front section. The big question then is what happens out here in the rest. So you come down here as far as the Washington Monument right here. Again, look at these crowds. This is 2009, the Obama first inaugural. Here's a normal day in 2011. You see the big difference right here. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich is arriving up at the Capitol, I'm told, as we continue to go through this. You see this play out. One more thing I want to show you as you come back in here. We can also look later over at the White House, where the president lives, of course. And what's the difference? Here's the president's reviewing stand. You see this little white structure here. There's also the VIP reviewing stand, some media reviewing over here across in the White House. That's not there on a normal day when you take a look at the White House. So we'll be able to take a look later today, compare it to the 2009 photos, compare it to a normal day, and then you can use gridding technology and the like to try to get a sense, Anderson, of how many people. 1.8 million, they said, in 2009. We expect about half that today. But it's getting pretty impressive, as we can see here. We've got a feisty group, and we'll see. By the end of the night, we should have a better number.
It is. They are pouring in really by the thousands every few minutes. Paul Ryan, I'm told, just arrived. Also at the Capitol, as we anticipate the first family arriving soon as well. There you see Paul Ryan among the dignitaries to arrive. We are going to be, events are going to be starting to occur very quickly from here on in as we get to see more and more of the power players in Washington arriving. We're standing by for the president's arrival at the Capitol on this historic day. Stand by for that. A whole lot more for former Secretary of State Colin Powell. He's a Republican, an Obama supporter, and he's very candid about his concerns for his party's future. We're going to talk to him. That and more after a final commercial break. This is the final commercial break, and the president is coming out of the White House, actually. So before we go to commercial break, let's take a look. There's the president's mother-in-law. So, Gloria, they'll be making their way here to the Capitol as the president's aides get ready to get in the various cars. Jessica, what part of the White House is this?
I think we're looking right now at the north portico, it looks to me, and the president has been attending a coffee with congressional leaders, with Senate Leader Mitch McConnell, Speaker Boehner, and Congressman Eric Cantor. I confirmed that with each of their offices. A nice bipartisan tradition and a good way to kick off a new term. As we've been discussing, the president doesn't do enough outreach, doesn't do enough socializing with leaders. Well, here he is doing just that, and he's been with the wives. Vice President Biden and his wife has been there, as has the First Lady. They will then head in the motorcade and make their way up here to the Capitol, where they will go into a hold for about an hour before the president speaks.
Senator John Kerry arriving at the Capitol. There you see Senator Kerry.
To have his confirmation hearings for Secretary of State.
This is the entrance that you see usually in the wide shots of the White House and our beauty shots, not the backside with the rounded edge, but the flat, wide front of the White House.
There you see Senator Kerry on the right.
One of the big differences when you have a change of power, you know, the current president greets the new president, and one of the traditions is he leaves a note. So that doesn't happen this time. The President Obama doesn't need to leave himself a note about the second term. And an outgoing vice president, there's a great old desk in the vice president's ceremonial office in the old executive office building where they sign their name. So there are some traditions when you have the transfer of power on a day like this where it's continuity. I think, as Jessica says, the president, that's a generous stroke to try to start with a little bit of a reset, say, maybe we can start and get along at least a little better.
And it's interesting that, of course, Mitch McConnell was there, who famously made the statement.
Senator John McCain also there.
He
Senator Feinstein, I believe, behind him.
And Mitch McConnell was the one who famously said, we need to make this a one-term president. And there he is there at coffee this morning.
He has since said that was a political effort, and once that didn't come to pass, he's completely reconciled to the fact that he has to work with him and get business done. I could add, Anderson, that the president has said because he is now reelected, he's been telling his aides that this is an opportunity almost to experience his inauguration for the first time.
You see Al Franken there on the right?
Because in the original inauguration, he was so focused on the financial crisis, the economic crisis. There was a national security threat on the day of the inauguration. They were consumed by the crises of the moment. They almost couldn't concentrate on what was happening that day.
20 years ago when Bill Clinton was leaving right at this moment, his speechwriters were still with him. Taylor Branch got in the limousine with him and was rewriting the speech on the way over to the White House.
Wow.
And didn't even have a place to sit and had to kneel in the back behind the president.
There's Elizabeth Warren.
How many of these senators, as they walk out, are taking a look at that podium and saying,
Sizing it up?
Or the vice president, there's Jill Biden. There's Dr. Jill Biden.
The vice president's probably taking a look at that podium going,
yeah.
Now, last time, President Obama and Mrs. Obama had coffee with President and Mrs. Bush instead of with congressional leaders.
There's our only black senator we just met.
Senator Tim Scott, first African-American Republican senator since Reconstruction.
Former President Bush is not, and Laura Bush are not going to be here today, nor is Bush 41, of course.
Just to follow up on what Jessica was saying about the president asking the White House staff, saying kind of enjoy this. Of course, second terms are always full of unintended things that occur, just the way first terms were. And so they all understand that. The one White House aide was quoted in the New York Times the other day as calling them locusts, these things that tend to descend on the White House, and you don't anticipate it. But of course now he doesn't have the economic crisis that he had.
Although we have seen that with just about every president who gets a second term, something unexpected. With Reagan, it was Iran-Contra. Here we have the First Lady, Michelle Obama, again wearing that. Is she wearing the same coat as before?
Looks to me like she has changed.
It looks like she has changed. Previously, she was wearing a Tom Brown coat and a Tom Brown dress with, I think, belt and shoes by J. Crew. But we'll try to find out.
As you watch the procession, we're watching obviously the principals here. But one of the huge challenges in the second term is trying to avoid burnout. The senior staff that does stay is exhausted. You also have a lot of turnover. You see the president, and it's, I think, the trademark, whether it's Chuck Hagel, somebody he likes, controversial to some Republicans, John Kerry at the State Department, maybe not his first choice, but somebody he likes and respects, his new chief of staff, Dennis McDonough, we expect to be someone the president. So his comfort zone. You see it when you're bringing in a new team. The question is it an A team? His Treasury Secretary is his former White House Chief of Staff. Is it an A team, especially when you're trying to get things done early on? Is there a burnout? It's a huge challenge for any second-term president to try to make sure that, those, especially you rattle everyone who did decide to stay and say, are you sure you got the energy?
His new team is a lot of musical chairs. It's not all new. It's a lot of the same team, just in new jobs. So if there's burnout, they would be feeling it. The Vice President. Anderson, you were mentioning the First Lady, and we've talked a lot about what she's wearing. One thing I would add is that we're reporting that she will take on some new role in the next term, and that is a little bit more of a political role, that she will be promoting some of the president's political agenda a bit more than we saw in the first term.
That's interesting.
That she, I would be interested to see how she'll do it, I imagine it will be very delicate, just a bit of a nod in that direction. But through this political arm, the OFA organization, she will be promoting some of his initiatives in the grassroots movement.
And let me tell you,
Senator Tom Daschle there coming in.
She's a lot more popular in certain parts of the country than he is. I mean, and in polling, I was always amazed at how she would run 8 or 9 points more popular than the president in places where he wasn't necessarily so popular. She was a force.
And what a critical role she played during the convention, really giving a speech that really roused the entire audience. Here's the president, of course, Senator Charles Schumer.
And I can tell you, this is no surprise, but the speech is done, locked, and loaded. No more changes.
Unlike Bill Clinton.
Until it's not.
Right?
The thing about the First Lady is that once she gets more involved in the political agenda, she will probably have to sacrifice a little bit of her popularity.
That's true.
And I think that's one reason she didn't do that this time around. She was so important to him in this re-election.
And from an image standpoint, also, one of the things that we pick up on in focus groups is that image of them two together, that loving family. Women voters ate that up. I mean, it was part of their brand, and they really appreciated it. And this was a guy who was truly in love with his wife, and his wife was a partner, and women voters really appreciated it.
Men didn't like that?
But
we didn't hear them talk about it as
Is that
much.
why he kissed her at that basketball game? I'm sure that was designed. That was poll tested and focus group approved. I'm sure of it.
Remember, in 2008, she was a little bit controversial during that campaign, and that's why she receded a little bit.
And the second term is where it's safe for her to step up. Remember, Laura Bush also stepped up in the second term for the women of Afghanistan in Burma, taking a stand about democracy in Burma.
As we watched the vice president come out, we didn't mention who was with him. I wonder if we'll get to mention him more. Senator Lamar Alexander of Tennessee, a former governor, a Republican, ran for president himself once. One of the members of the Senate who was incredibly frustrated by the inaction, the inability to get things done. Mark Warner is a Democrat, a former governor. There are a number of senators in both parties, especially the former governors who were chief executives who like to get things done, who have been talking privately among themselves about how can we get more things done? How can we find consensus? How can we drop the word comprehensive maybe and make some incremental progress on things? That to me is a fascinating, and Joe Biden's a big part of those conversations to see if they can find, I don't know whether you can call it the middle or the center anymore, but just some functional group that trusts each other and that can find ways to get things done.
Notice the taxation without representation, license plate.
Yes. We Washingtonians, that's a big deal because we have no representation.
There is nothing quite like watching this motorcade, though, as it passes you by. As in for all those on the stand, it is an awesome sight. Just the number of vehicles, the size of the vehicle they call the Beast there, carrying both the vice president and another one carrying the president.
And those are heavy machines, heavily fortified, but make no mistake, they're going to go very slowly today when we see them, if necessary. I've been out to the Secret Service training headquarters and watched them do the emergency drills with these things. That's a treat.
I can't go down to the Cadillac dealership, pick one of those up?
No.
There are already people lining, of course, the parade route, trying to get a good spot, as they have been all morning long. And here on the National Mall, it is getting very, very crowded indeed as more and more people arriving. People realizing the president, the vice president are on their way here. And certainly the excitement is building as we approach the hour in which the oath of office will be taken. Let's bring in Wolf Blitzer, who's over closer to the Capitol. Wolf.
This is sort of the reverse, Anderson, of the parade that will be going from Capitol Hill over towards the North Lawn of the White House. And then this presidential motorcade carrying the president, the first lady, the vice president, the second lady. Chuck Schumer is the chairman of the inaugural committee. They are coming in the opposite direction of what will be taking place after the luncheon here, after the swearing-in ceremony up on Capitol Hill. And it's nice to see this these live pictures coming in from the motorcade as it heads towards Pennsylvania Avenue, makes that turn up Pennsylvania Avenue towards Capitol Hill. It's really a short drive. They're not driving too quickly. Kate Baldwin is here. David Gergen is here. All of us have made this drive. The folks will be watching along the sides, but they're going to be gathering to watch a little bit later. David, as you watch this, what's going on? What goes through your mind?
Oh, it's a sense of ritual, Wolf, that we every 4 years we go through this, and it has a pageantry about it. And people, again, come here, Republicans and Democrats, in a celebration of democracy. It's one of the, I think it's a grand part of our American heritage that we've been able to see these, to realize that people used to take carriages up and down this same path. And now we have these cars. and here on the state waiting stand, what's been really interesting watching out here, all the senators are waiting, but they're mostly out there with cameras taking pictures.
That's what I said. That was a rare moment of bipartisanship that I saw when the number 3 Republican in the House, Kevin McCarthy, was teaching the number 2 Democrat in the House, Steny Hoyer, how to use his iPhone to take a picture of the whole crowd.
The presidential historian H.W. Brand is joining us as well. Give us a little historic perspective right now, and as we see Eva Longoria walking into the Capitol.
It's a big day. The president has been reelected. That puts him in a very small minority of presidents. Only 17 presidents who've won a second term. He faces real challenges, of course, and he's had to deal with problems in the first term. He's made progress on those. He's certainly going to say something about the progress that has been achieved so far. Since he's been reelected, he's able to take a longer view of politics than he has until now. So he will be looking for the line that will make it into the history books, say, 30 years from now. We'll cover this, we'll hear what he has to say, and it'll be reported tomorrow. But then people will forget the words day after tomorrow, and he'll get back to business. And maybe the lines, maybe the words from the inaugural address today will be reported in history books 20 or 30 years from now. But second inaugural addresses are a pretty hard genre.
And the tradition of driving in this motorcade from the White House up to Capitol Hill, it's a long tradition. But before there were cars, there were horses. Give us a little historic perspective on what we're seeing right now, Professor.
Well, one of the key aspects of this now motorcade, what used to be a procession, it was done on foot, on horseback, and carriage, is that it reminds us that at this critical moment for democracy, when we inaugurate a president, that the two branches of Congress, the two ends of Pennsylvania Avenue, really do have to come together. Tomorrow they might split apart, but for today, we celebrate the fact that democracy works. We hold elections and we install our leaders peacefully.
And Professor, the fact that the president invited here members of the cabinet, we can see arriving now as well. You saw Susan Rice, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. There's Leon Panetta, the defense secretary, walking in right now. So there's more members of the cabinet coming in. But this is the motorcade that's carrying the president, the first lady, the vice president, second lady, and others up Pennsylvania Avenue towards the Capitol. H.W. Brands is the presidential historian, the author who's helping us better appreciate the enormity of this historical moment that we're watching. They're getting closer and closer. That's quite a long motorcade that they've got. I guess the Republican and Democratic congressional leadership, Kate, they're in that motorcade as well. Professor, how significant is it that, and there you see Janet Napolitano, the Secretary of Homeland Security, walking in with other members of the cabinet. How significant is it that the president invited the congressional leadership for coffee after coming back from church before heading up to Capitol Hill?
It seems a clear indication that he realizes that if anything's going to be done in this second term, it's going to have to be done on a bipartisan basis. Presidents in their inaugural addresses always speak in bipartisan fashion. Thomas Jefferson famously said, "We are all Republicans, we are all Federalists." Presidents in their inaugural addresses almost always repeat that theme. We can count on President Obama saying something like that today. The real question, of course, is whether the actions follow through tomorrow.
There's the outgoing Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner walking in. We saw Ken Salazar, the Secretary of the Interior. We also are watching all these members. I'm curious, David Gergen, all members of the cabinet, the congressional leadership, the House leadership, the president, the vice president, they're all there. But there will be one designated member of the cabinet who won't be here. God forbid, for if there were a horrendous situation.
I think we just saw Craig Robinson walking in as well, the First Lady's brother, as we were just watching this all happening before us.
We don't know who that person is yet, but we will know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We will know. It's just like the joint sessions of Congress, right. Wolf, as you well know. One person has to stay back, which is important for a sense of continuity of government, continuity of control. But again, these rituals have such a rich tradition, and they go back so many, inauguration after inauguration. And I do think that it gives Americans a sense of continuity in our national life.
As we look ahead to the president's speech, as we watch his motorcade making its way towards the Capitol, I was looking back and I saw that George Washington's second inaugural speech was all of some 140 words.
Well,
it's
that's
almost
right.
like the equivalent of a tweet in terms of inaugural speeches. How do you think, in terms of length, I think, as I believe Jessica Yellen said earlier, shorter may be better, but it is also, of course, the contents of what he says, and if there is that memorable line that will go down in history.
Well, second inaugural addresses, as Professor Brand said, have not been well remembered.
Right.
But the general theory is shorter is better. Lincoln, the most famous inaugural address, second inaugural, 700 words plus.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. And everybody's talking about that, especially because of the film Lincoln, which
Exactly.
obviously had an enormous impact, apparently, on the President of the United States. He keeps talking about how when he saw that film, it really resonated with him as the current President of the United States.
A few of the other folks that we've seen streaming in, Rahm Emanuel, the former chief of staff to President Obama, now the mayor of Chicago. I think we were just seeing Kelly Clarkson coming in. She will be performing soon, as well as James Taylor, who Wolf, we had the chance to speak to at the Democratic Convention.
Right,
he was there performing, a longtime supporter of the president. Even went to perform at some. And Beyonce has just walked in. I think you saw that shot right there, and the crowd really went wild when they saw it as well. They could see her.
Beyonce will sing the national anthem
With her husband, Jay-Z. That's quite a couple to be at the inauguration
there's
today.
Jimmy Carter and Rosalind Carter walking in, the former president of the United States. So there will be Bill Clinton will be there. Obviously, the Secretary of State, the outgoing Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. But Jimmy Carter is attending as well with Rosalind Carter.
Not
coming
often
in.
have we said Beyonce and Jay-Z and then the Carters in the same sentence, that's for sure. That definitely shows the range that we're seeing at this inauguration.
The Carters would like that.
Hold on a
A
second.
lot of rock and roll.
Hold on a second. Jim Acosta's joining us right now. Jim, tell our viewers where you are.
Wolf, we are at the east front of the Capitol right now, and it looks like the president's limo has just pulled in to the carriage house entrance on the Senate side of the Capitol. It's sort of difficult to figure this out, Wolf, because as you might imagine, the president's motorcade has a number of limousines, a number of armored vehicles all around it. And so part of that for security reasons, of course. But we were told by our Senate producer, Ted Barrett, earlier this morning that the vice president is being accompanied by Lamar Alexander, the senator from Tennessee, the Republican senator from Tennessee. Chuck Schumer is with the president, and they'll be heading in shortly in just a few moments. They call it the carriage house entrance, of course, because actual horse and carriages used to come through that entrance.
Hold on a second, Jim. The Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts, was just introduced. He's there. There's the First Lady of the United States. She has just arrived as well, and she's now inside the Capitol. Dana Bash, you're inside the Capitol. Where's the First Lady walking in right now?
Well, where she's supposed to go, actually, I can see exactly where she's going. Ironically, the holding area, the staging area, is in the Senate dining room. That's the place that is exclusive just for senators. They can invite guests. I've had the honor of being in there a few times. That is where she and the president are going to wait. And in fact, I'm guessing right about now, they're going up to the 4th floor of this building, of the Capitol, into a special vault where the Bibles that she will be responsible for taking out to hold for her husband to put his hand on and take the oath. They will probably be making their way down to her right now. Again, these are
Dana, the vice president is walking in right now with Senator Lamar Alexander, who's one of the co-chairs of this inaugural committee. The vice president is there. He's obviously a happy guy. He's smiling broadly coming into the U.S. Capitol, and we'll be seeing more of these VIPs coming in as well. Sorry I interrupted you, Dana, but the president, there we can see the president getting out of the limousine as well. He's going to be walking in, and there will be a lot of excitement as he walks in. There's no doubt about that. Dana, when he comes in, he goes into a little holding area, is that right?
That's right. As I was saying, that their hold is the Senate dining room. But then what they're going to do is go down. Their walk is going to be on the 1st floor of the Capitol through what's known as the crypt, down a really long flight of stairs out to the west front. And then everybody, will see that first moment of him coming out for the ceremony to begin. There you see the president. He's coming in what Jim was talking about, the carriage entrance of the Capitol. That is the entrance that is probably most used to get into the Senate side. He's greeting members of the leadership there.
The president kissing Nancy Pelosi, the minority leader in the House of Representatives. He's accompanied by Chuck Schumer, who's the chair of this inaugural committee. They're coming in. Harry Reid, John Boehner, all of the leaders. Take a look at all those flags that are being waved on the National Mall in front of the U.S. Capitol. I'm looking out at this picture, and it is a huge, huge crowd. Anderson Cooper's on the other side, not far away from the Washington Monument. Anderson, from your vantage point, what does it look like?
It is an amazing sight here, Wolf. You can see flags as far as the eye can see. And there you have former President Clinton, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Haven't seen much of her since she got out of the hospital. It's nice to see that she is here today with the former president as they make their way toward the podium where they will sit behind President Obama and Vice President Biden as they are sworn in. We're going to hear them announced when they walk to the edge. We'll listen in to
looks like
that.
a school teacher.
Ladies and gentlemen, the flags of each of the armed forces presents our national colors. Ladies and gentlemen, the 39th President of the United States, Jimmy Carter, and Mrs. Rosalind Carter.
There, President Carter and Rosalind Carter stepping down to take their seats. And of course, they'll be followed by all the former presidents who will be here. It is, John King, something kind of special about this, just the tradition of it all. It's all something which has been done every 4 years. It is something which has been done throughout our history.
And hopefully Americans watching around the country, even in these polarized, partisan times, can take a moment to take a breath, to celebrate the country, celebrate their democracy. And let me be the corny, idealistic American for a minute. There are people watching around the world as well. And every 4 years we do this. Sometimes a different party takes over power. In this case, you have a president winning a second term. He's our second African-American president. This re-election was in some way a validation for him and a repudiation of the critics who say he only won the first time because George W. Bush and the Republicans were so unpopular. There are a lot of people around the world who don't get this. And if their governments are letting them see this, whether they live in Iran or they live in China or they live anywhere else in the world, this is something to be proud of and something we take for granted.
And you know, Anderson, we in Washington, we're so cynical about American politics, but you have to lose a lot of that cynicism today when you sit here and you watch hundreds of thousands of people out on the mall celebrating democracy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 42nd President of the United States, William Jefferson Clinton, and Secretary of State, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Hello. Hey, how are you all?
You've written a lot about Bill Clinton. For him, I mean, he loves this. He loves this.
He lives for this. He would like to live for it again another 4 years from now, I'm sure. But, you know, it's interesting. His second inaugural, 1996, Barack Obama was just starting his political career. That was the year he was elected to the Illinois Senate. And now he's enjoying Barack Obama's second term, and I think that they've had this sort of needy relationship this year, which has served them both very well.
What is their real relationship like? I mean, does it surprise you that they haven't been invited over for dinner?
No, it doesn't, because he hasn't invited that many people over for dinner. And no, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama did not necessarily have to get along personally, but they've gotten along professionally very well this year. It will always be an uneven relationship based on how much they need each other and what the circumstances are. Obviously, politically, they're both, I would call, pragmatic liberals. They're not that far apart in politics. But politics does strange things to people in terms of what their political needs are at that moment. And so there have been times when they've been very far apart, when Clinton's staff in particular has been very rough on Obama. And there are times when Obama didn't want to be around Clinton, but this last year, it just meshed perfectly. They needed each other and they helped each other.
I mean, one would argue that at the Democratic convention, Bill Clinton made the case for Barack Obama better than Barack Obama did.
They say in a way that the president could never have made for himself. They argue only Clinton could say that about
It's
Obama.
a lot easier when you're an ex-president.
But you say it so beautifully, David, when you talk about the difference in the political behavior of Bill Clinton and President Obama. That Clinton is a transactional politician in the way Obama could never be.
Bill Clinton's recreation is politics. That's what he does in his time off.
That's his life. That's what he enjoys. And the question is, looking at his wife, she's different. I think he enjoys it more than any other human being in the history of the world.
Yes.
You also have hearings for Benghazi coming up that Hillary Clinton will be testifying in front of.
And she, you know, I think she's prepared for that, and she will hold her own there. It's not, though, an ideal way for her to end her tenure. She had this globe-trotting, history-making record there as this, you know, Secretary of State who did, you know, this public diplomacy in a way no one else had. And then she wraps it up on this odd note, getting sick and then having to appear before Congress at the very end. So sort of an unfortunate way for her to wrap it up, and yet I think in the grand scale she'll be remembered for what she did in the years before this event.
I think she'll be treated pretty well. Don't forget that she was very popular in the Senate, including among the Republicans.
Respected.
She's known for doing her homework. I mean, Hillary Clinton, when she was in the Senate, First Lady, was known as somebody who studied for the part she was about
There's Beau
to
Biden
play.
carrying the Bible down the stairs. It is the Bible that the Vice President will use to be sworn in. It's the family Bible.
What a big Bible.
It is extraordinary, John King, when you think about for people, again, watching around the world, the fight between Hillary Clinton when she was running against then Senator Barack Obama, to think that she would then take the job as Secretary of State. I mean, at the time during that race, during the most vitriolic part of it, it was unthinkable, I think, for many on her staff.
And Jed, and I think Hillary Clinton early on was underestimated in this regard, somebody who was part of her husband's campaigns and a very controversial first lady in Arkansas when she wanted to use her own maiden name, Hillary Rodham Clinton. watched her husband lose.
Gloria there on the left.
One of the celebrities up there, and a key Latino, part of the Latino outreach for this president. She watched, remember, Bill Clinton would tell you the best thing that ever happened to him was losing his first re-election battle as governor to Frank White in Arkansas. It humbled him, and it taught him that he couldn't always get his way. She knows a lot about politics. She's a loyal Democrat in addition to a warrior, if you will. And, initially, could you see that partnership in the days and the weeks after the campaign? No. But now you've seen again, will they be best of friends? I doubt it, but a very good relationship.
Administrative Officer Dan Strodel.
Joe Biden being introduced. When you see the Bible, that most presidents will use. For many down here, far away down on the National Mall, there are not that many video screens around, so many in the crowd cannot really see what is going on. They can sort of hear it over loudspeakers, but they can't actually see it. Wolf Blitzer, from where you are, obviously people have a much better vantage point.
Well, we're right near. You look behind me, you can see what's going on over there. But it's an amazing scene up here on Capitol Hill on this front of the United States Capitol. It is jam-packed as we get ready for the next introduction. We just saw the Bidens being introduced. The Obama family, David Gergen, Kate, they're about to be introduced. Malia, Sasha, Mrs. Marion Robinson, the president's mother-in-law. They will be introduced momentarily. Then there'll be some more introductions. Dr. Jill Biden will be introduced. And then the Speaker of the House, the Majority Leader, more members of the family, the First Lady. This is a very, very carefully orchestrated, David, event right now. Every second literally has been structured, timed to make sure it goes through the pomp and ceremony that it deserves.
Absolutely, and it is planned down to the moment. They have people come out and practice it. First Family is well informed. One has a sense that there is a different Barack Obama taking the oath. He does look more confident coming here today. There was this great sense of hope and sort of novelty when he first came. But here he comes. He's very much in command, it seems, today.
No, he knows. He's not just walking into it. He knows what the past 4 years have done. And we read it. We have many people who are going to watch this right now, David and Wolf.
Here comes Sasha and Malia. They're walking in right now with Mrs. Robinson. Caitlin O'Neill, the chief of staff to the Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, is escorting them in. By the way, we've just learned that Eric Shinseki, the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, is the member of the cabinet who will not be here because of they always leave someone out. God forbid if something horrible were to happen here. All right, David, we're about to hear the speech from the president after he's sworn in by the Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts. What does he need to do, David? You worked for 4 American presidents. Mm-hmm. What does he need to do in this 20-minute speech, shall we say, that it's about to take place?
I want to go back to something Jessica Yellen reported earlier on, and that was, in talking to the White House aides, that he would like to reset the conversation. That was the phrase she used. And it does seem to me, if they can do that in a city that's dysfunctional, and it's especially fitting in some ways that the president comes to the Congress to make that speech, can we reset the conversation? And I wonder if the coffee this morning, the bipartisan coffee, was not intended to sort of begin that resetting. So we'll see. I think if he can get that theme, that's much more important to do that than to get the programs. This is about poetry, not about programs.
Mm-hmm. I've also heard that the second inaugural is a response to the first. Do you think that is what we'll hear today?
I think it'll be a response to the first term.
Yeah.
And the fact that, as David Marinus was saying and Gloria was saying earlier, that there's not the same sense of crisis this time. There is more of a sense of opportunity, but also a realism about how hard it is to get things done.
Ladies and gentlemen,
listen
the
to this.
Of the president, Malia Obama and Sasha Obama. Also, Miss Marion Robinson, accompanied by
it's so nice to see these two daughters of the president and the first lady, because we've seen them grow up over these past 4 years.
It's been really amazing to watch them grow up in the White House. Look how tall they've grown. For one thing that we've seen. Both of their parents are very tall, but just you've seen the sense where they really kind of shied away from the cameras. And while Malia does still somewhat, and Sasha definitely tends towards the spotlight, you see that they really are quite comfortable in the position that they're in. I think that is a testament to their parents and how they have operated within the White House.
I agree. And the time that they've actually spent at night, on one hand, people say he doesn't socialize enough, but on the other hand, he does spend a lot of time with his daughters. He and Michelle spend a lot of time with their daughters, and it's working. It seems to have a very good family. I must say, after a number of first families that seem somewhat dysfunctional in terms of raising their kids, we've had 3 presidents in a row now: the Clintons and the Bushes, and now the Obamas, who've, I think, done a really good job with their kids.
They certainly have. And, I loved yesterday after the president was sworn in the private ceremony, which we all saw live here around the world. He hugged his 2 girls. And here comes some more guests being introduced. Let's see who this is. So this is Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, the second lady of the United States. When little Sasha, there's the picture of her on the screen, she hugged her dad and
she basically said, you didn't mess it up.
You didn't mess it up this time. How cute was that?
Very good. I think we do see, we saw with the kids' inaugural concert this weekend, I do think we see a lot of influence that these 2 girls have had on their parents and kind of what their parents put their focus on, because let's also be honest, young people were a big reason why Barack Obama made it into the White House in the first place.
That's right. And what we also know is that one of the things that's affected him emotionally the most over the last year was Sandy Hook.
Yes.
And it was the loss of those children, and relating it to his own daughters made a big, big difference in how he responded. And the whole effort now on gun control, I think, comes from that deep impact that Sandy Hook had upon him as a father.
It impacted the country as well. It was Wolf and I were both there covering it. It was a horrible thing to be there to witness, but you did see a change in him when he came to speak to those families and just how deeply it impacted him. That's absolutely right.
If you take a look next to the girls, Sasha and Malia, you can't see her right now, but Mrs. Marion Robinson, the mother-in-law of the president, she's played a really critical role in helping to raise these girls. She lives in the White House with the first family, and she's really been deeply involved in almost every aspect of their lives, and it's a nice thing to see. Anderson, I got to tell you, here up on Capitol Hill, it's very exciting.
Biden, accompanied by Mrs. Alexander,
let's listen to the introduction.
Mrs. Boehner, Mrs. Cantor, Assistant Secretary of the Senate Sheila Wire, and Deputy Clerk of the House of Representatives Robert Reeves.
This is Dr. Jill Biden being introduced. She's walking down. Exciting moment for her as well. Anderson, I was saying, as we're close up here, it's pretty exciting. You're a little further away, but the crowd is pretty jam-packed, I got to tell you.
It is jam-packed really all down the National Mall, and even those who can't see very up close what is happening, there's a lot of excitement, a lot of people waving flags, milling around, talking to each other, just happy to be here, happy to witness history in the making. So many people from all around the country wanted to be here on this day, and as John King pointed out, the crowd's not as large, obviously, as they were 4 years ago, but they are standing shoulder to shoulder, eager to see Vice President Biden and President Obama introduced, and probably also to see, I know there are a fair number of people in the crowd who are looking forward to hearing Beyonce perform the national anthem.
A little bit of politics and policy, a little bit of celebration and entertainment, and perhaps as this mall fills in, perhaps the crowd will there's the First Lady right there coming out. Perhaps the crowd will surprise the law enforcement officials who said it would be significantly smaller than the first time, because this mall, at least behind us, we don't know what it looks like on the other end as we're blocked in here. It's very impressive, very impressive. And I'm just struck watching the 2 daughters with the contagious smiles up there, their poise and their presence. I spoke to President-elect Obama a few days before his first inauguration, and he was talking about that being such a huge concern. What would their lives be like? Could they have normal lives as children? And I think, as David Gergen and Wolf and Kate were just talking about, it seems as parents, give them an A+. And you see Malia around town sometimes with her friends from school, with 1 or 2 Secret Service agents kind of trailing behind in a baseball cap and hiding, letting them have a normal life, letting them go to restaurants. Her, the older one, let her go out to shops with her friends. And I give them a big so far so good on that one.
They have worked very hard to try to protect their kids and also raise up their kids, having dinner each night. President Obama talked about not letting their kids be on Facebook at this point. They're allowed 2 hours of television a week. But really, the family is extraordinarily strong.
In a way, I just in looking at these pictures, it seems that they've grown up before our very eyes. And we don't get to see them a lot and focus on them. So when we look at them now, we think, oh my God, they've gotten so tall, they've grown.
Especially the Malia. I mean, she's as tall as her mom. Her mom is not short. I mean, if you've ever been around the First Lady, even when she's wearing flats, she's usually one of the taller people in the room. And now her daughter is as tall as she is. I think that was just shocking.
Let's
listen in.
Accompanied by Secretary of the Senate Nancy Erickson, Clerk of the House of Representatives Karen Haas, Mrs. Schumer, Mrs. Reed, and Mr. Pelosi.
Michelle Obama, who just turned 49 recently, changed her hairstyle. She's obviously been remarked on. Where you see her with her brother.
Princeton colors.
The girls look cold and they're dancing.
Right. Anderson, if we could talk just for a moment about the speech. One of the messages we've been talking about today is the recognition of the democratic values that we recognize on Inauguration Day, and that we all should pause and appreciate the ritual and ceremony today. That's a message I expect to hear from the president. One of the messages I think he's going to convey is, in a time of partisanship and in a time when our nation is dealing with a bitterness and a sense of division, one of the themes that unites us and connects us from past to present and future is our shared belief in the principles that founded America, in our shared faith in this idea of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and that it's our commitment to what founded America that helps us connect and move forward. And I think he'll talk about this idea that we don't have to agree on everything in order to move forward on a few ideas, and so we should set aside our disagreements to make some deals on those few things we do agree on right now.
As we wait to hear Vice President Biden introduce Gloria, you recently had the chance to interview the Vice President. Clearly, you're somebody who could very well easily be looking at 2016 at a run for the
right,
presidency.
although I will say he's not giving it away.
Well, they never do.
Whether he is in it, you know, and we'll show you some of this interview after the swearing in. But it seems to me that the vice president, has found his zone, if you will, inside this White House now, because as much as the president dislikes the to and fro with members of Congress, it's heaven for Joe Biden.
Let's listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States, Joseph R. Biden, accompanied by Inaugural Coordinator for the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, Kelly Fado, Senate Deputy Sergeant-at-Arms, Martina Bradford, House Deputy Sergeant-at-Arms, Carrie Hanley, Senate Majority Leader, Harry Reid, and House Democratic Leader, Nancy Pelosi.
Biden on the left clapping for her husband, and President Obama approaching. David Moranis, you talked about 4 years ago how he really didn't have the opportunity to kind of enjoy this day and really take it in. Do you think today is much different for him?
I really do. I think that ever since the election on November 6th, I think he's had a new sensibility about what it means, what he's done. And I think he's now taking it in a very different way.
And you can really see it on his face. You know, he was aging by the minute, it seemed, for 4 years, and now he looks to me 5 years younger. I think the fact that
he's dyeing his hair.
I heard from presidential advisor David Axelrod not long ago. He said the president was in good spirits, enjoyed the worship service this morning, but was still working on his remarks. You're using every minute you can to get this just right.
To get it just right.
That's the orange and black of Oregon State there on the coach's scarf.
David, how much does this president in a second term think about his legacy, you think?
Every president thinks about their legacy. And, of course, he's spending more time than in sort of untraditional ways doing it by meeting with presidential historians every now and then to really talk about what it means to establish a legacy and how he can do it. So, he studied second terms. He said he was familiar with the literature of it. He reads a lot, and so I think he thinks about it more. And he's honest about it. Bill Clinton used to say he wasn't thinking about it, but of course every president is.
I mean, one of the first remarks he made at his post-election press conference was, I'm familiar with the literature about second-term presidents.
About overreach.
And look at that scene of all those people there, all those flags waving. That is what the president will see as he stands up to take the oath of office. An extraordinary sight.
Not all presidents are given moments where they can actually build a legacy. Bill Clinton ended up being a president during the Pax Romana. He was a time of peace and not that much turbulence. This president has the challenges that'll test him and will put him in history for good or ill.
I think that's right.
Yeah, the crowd behind us, it's basically shoulder to shoulder, people standing all the way up, all the way through to the Capitol, even people as far back. And let's listen in as the president is introduced.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Barack H. Obama, accompanied by Staff Director for the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, Jean Parvin Borowicz, Senate Sergeant-at-Arms Terrence W. Gaynor, the House Sergeant-at-Arms Paul Irving, Chairman of the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, Senator Charles E. Schumer, Senator Lamar Alexander, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, John Boehner, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, House Majority Leader Eric Cantor, and House Democratic Leader Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
What Joe Biden was just saying to the president, whether it was brought a smile to his face. They seem to be bantering a bit there.
Yeah.
A little bit like the family that has had issues throughout the year, but at least they come together for Thanksgiving. It's a nice moment to see.
Well, I think so, but I think they have both really found, to your point, Gloria, they've both found their rhythm. I look at Biden as a sort of more friendly LBJ, and this is the JFK. And there it is.
There's Bill Clinton observing.
I think everybody on that platform is so thrilled to be there and have that unique vantage point. It's a seat that few people could ever even imagine having.
And also, they just saw a flash there of Myrlie Evers, the widow of Medgar Evers. Medgar Evers could have been as big as Dr. King, gunned down in front of his family. And she was not able to get here for the March on Washington 50 years ago to represent her husband. She's there tonight.
Inaugural ceremonies, the Honorable Charles E. Schumer.
Circle is complete for the Evers family.
Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, members of Congress, all who are present, and to all who are watching, welcome to the Capitol and to this celebration of our great democracy. Now, this is the 57th inauguration of an American president, and no matter how many times one witnesses this event, its simplicity, its innate majesty, and most of all, its meaning, that sacred yet cautious and trusting of power, from we the people to our chosen leader, never fails to make one's heart beat faster, as it will today with the inauguration of President Barack H. Obama. Now, we know that we would not be here today were it not for those who stand guard around the world to preserve our freedom. To those in our armed forces, we offer our infinite thanks for your bravery, your honor, your sacrifice.
All right now.
Oh, say hi.
This democracy of ours was forged by intellect and argument, by activism and blood, and above all, from John Adams to Elizabeth Cady Stanton to Martin Luther King, by a stubborn adherence to the notion that we are all created equal and that we deserve nothing less than a great republic worthy of our consent. The theme of this year's inaugural is faith in America's future. The perfect embodiment of this unshakable confidence in the ongoing success of our collective journey is an event from our past. I speak of the improbable completion of the Capitol Dome and capping it with the Statue of Freedom, which occurred 150 years ago in 1863. When Abraham Lincoln took office 2 years earlier, the dome above us was a half-built eyesore. Conventional wisdom was that it should be left unfinished until the war ended, given the travails and financial needs of the times. But to President Lincoln, the half-finished dome symbolized the half-divided nation. Lincoln said, "If people see the Capitol going on, it is a sign we intend the Union shall go on." And so, despite the conflict which engulfed the nation and surrounded the city, the dome continued to rise. On December 2nd, 1863, the Statue of Freedom, a woman, was placed atop the dome where she still stands today. In a sublime irony, it was a former slave, now free American, Philip Reed, who helped to cast the bronze statue. Now, our present times are not as perilous or as despairing as they were in 1863. But in 2013, far too many doubt the future of this great nation and our ability to tackle our own era's half-finished domes. Today's problems are intractable, they say. The times are so complex, the differences in the country and the world so deep, we will never overcome them. When thoughts like these, produce anxiety, fear, and even despair, we do well to remember that Americans have always been, and still are, a practical, optimistic, problem-solving people. And that, as our history shows, no matter how steep the climb, how difficult the problems, how half-finished the task, America always rises to the occasion. America prevails, and America prospers. And those who bet against this country have inevitably been on the wrong side of history. So, it is a good moment to gaze upward and behold the Statue of Freedom at the top of the Capitol Dome. It is a good moment to gain strength and courage and humility from those who are determined to complete the half-finished dome. It is a good moment to rejoice today at this 57th presidential inaugural ceremony, and it is the perfect moment to renew our collective faith in the future of America. Thank you, and God bless these United States. In that spirit of faith, I would now like to introduce civil rights leader Myrlie Evers, who has committed her life to extending the promise of our nation's founding principles to all Americans. Mrs. Evers will lead us in the invocation.
America, we are here, our nation's capital, on this day, January the 21st, 2013, the inauguration of our 45th President, Barack Obama. We come at this time to ask blessings upon our leaders, the President, Vice President, members of Congress, all elected and appointed officials of the United States of America. We are here to ask blessings upon our armed forces, blessings upon all who contribute to the essence of the American spirit, the American dream, the opportunity to become whatever our mankind, womankind, allows us to be. This is the promise of America. As we sing the words of belief, "This is my country," let us act upon the meaning that everyone is included. May the inherent dignity and inalienable rights of every woman, man, boy, and girl be honored. May all your people, especially the least of these, flourish in our blessed nation. 150 years after the Emancipation Proclamation and 50 years after the March on Washington, we celebrate the spirit of our ancestors, which has allowed us to move from a nation of unborn hopes and a history of disenfranchised votes to today's expression of a more perfect union. We ask, too, Almighty, that where our paths seem blanketed by thorns of oppression and riddled by pangs of despair, we ask for your guidance toward the light of deliverance, and that the vision of those who came before us and dreamed of this day, that we recognize that their visions still inspire us. They are a great cloud of witnesses, unseen by the naked eye, but all around us, thankful, that their living was not in vain. For every mountain, you gave us the strength to climb. Your grace is pleaded to continue that climb for America and the world. We now stand beneath the shadow of the nation's capital, whose golden dome reflects the unity and democracy of one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approximately 4 miles from where we are assembled, the hallowed remains of men and women rest in Arlington Cemetery. They who believed, fought, and died for this country. May their spirit infuse our being to work together with respect, enabling us to continue to build this nation. And in so doing, we send a message to the world that we are strong, fierce in our strength, and ever vigilant in our pursuit of freedom. We ask that you grant our president the will to act courageously but cautiously when confronted with danger, and to act prudently but deliberately when challenged by adversity. Please continue to bless his efforts to lead by example in consideration and favor of the diversity of our people. Bless our families all across this nation. We thank you for this opportunity of prayer to strengthen us for the journey through the days that lie ahead. We invoke the prayers of our grandmothers who taught us to pray, God, make me a blessing. Let their spirit guide us as we claim the spirit of old. There's something within me that holds the reins. There's something within me that banishes pain. There's something within me I cannot explain. But all I know, America, there is something within. There is something within. In Jesus' name, in the name of all who are holy and right, we pray. Amen.
I am pleased to introduce the award-winning Tabernacle Choir, the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir, to sing Battle Hymn of the Republic.
beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea, with a glory in his bosom that transfigures you and me.
Please join me in welcoming my colleague and my friend, the Senator from Tennessee, the Honorable Lamar Alexander.
Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, ladies and gentlemen, the late Alex Haley, the author of Roots, lived his life by these 6 words: find the good and praise it. Today we praise the American tradition of transferring or reaffirming immense power in the inauguration of the President of the United States. We do this in a peaceful, orderly way. There is no mob, no coup, no insurrection. This is a moment when millions stop and watch, a moment most of us always will remember. It is a moment that is our most conspicuous and enduring symbol of the American democracy. How remarkable that this has survived for so long in such a complex country when so much power is at stake. This freedom to vote for our leaders and the restraint to respect the results. Last year at Mount Vernon, a tour guide told me that our first president, George Washington, once posed this question: what is most important, Washington asked, of this grand experiment, the United States? And then Washington answered his own question in this way: not the election of the first president, but the election of its second president. The peaceful transfer of power is what will separate our country from every other country in the world. So today we celebrate the 57th inauguration of the American president. Find the good and praise it. Now, it is my honor to introduce the Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, Sonia Sotomayor, for the purpose of administering the oath of office to the Vice President. Will everyone please stand?
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Mr. Vice President, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Joseph R. Biden, Jr., do solemnly swear.
I, Joseph R. Biden, Jr., do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
The duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
The duties of the office upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. I appreciate you.
It is my pleasure to introduce renowned musical artist James Taylor.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea, from sea to shining sea.
It is my honor to present the Chief Justice of the United States, John G. Roberts, Jr., who will administer the presidential oath of office. Everyone, please rise.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great privilege and distinct honor to introduce the 44th President of the United States of America, Barack H. Obama.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Vice President Biden, Mr. Chief Justice, members of the United States Congress, distinguished guests, and fellow citizens. Each time we gather to inaugurate a president, we bear witness to the enduring strength of our Constitution. We affirm the promise of our democracy. We recall that what binds this nation together is not the colors of our skin or the tenets of our faith or the origins of our names. What makes us exceptional, what makes us American, is our allegiance to an idea articulated in a declaration made more than 2 centuries ago. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Today, we continue a never-ending journey to bridge the meaning of those words with the realities of our time. For history tells us that while these truths may be self-evident, they have never been self-executing. That while freedom is a gift from God, it must be secured by His people here on earth. The patriots of 1776 did not fight to replace the tyranny of a king with the privileges of a few or the rule of a mob. They gave to us a republic, a government of and by and for the people, entrusting each generation to keep safe our founding creed. And for more than 200 years we have. Through blood drawn by lash and blood drawn by sword, we learned that no union founded on the principles of liberty and equality could survive half slave and half free. We made ourselves anew and vowed to move forward together. Together, we determined that a modern economy requires railroads and highways to speed travel and commerce, schools and colleges to train our workers. Together, we discovered that a free market only thrives when there are rules to ensure competition and fair play. Together, we resolved that a great nation must care for the vulnerable and protect its people from life's worst hazards and misfortune. Through it all, we have never relinquished our skepticism of central authority, nor have we succumbed to the fiction that all society's ills can be cured through government alone. Our celebration of initiative and enterprise, our insistence on hard work and personal responsibility, these are constants in our character. But we have always understood that when times change, so must we. That fidelity to our founding principles requires new responses to new challenges. That preserving our individual freedoms ultimately requires collective action. For the American people can no more meet the demands of today's world by acting alone than American soldiers could have met the forces of fascism or communism with muskets and militias. No single person can train all the math and science teachers we'll need to equip our children for the future, or build the roads and networks and research labs that will bring new jobs and businesses to our shores. Now, more than ever, we must do these things together as one nation and one people. This generation of Americans has been tested by crises that steeled our resolve and proved our resilience. A decade of war is now ending. An economic recovery has begun. America's possibilities are limitless, for we possess all the qualities that this world without boundaries demands: youth and drive, diversity and openness, an endless capacity for risk, and a gift for reinvention. My fellow Americans, we are made for this moment, and we will seize it so long as we seize it together. For we, the people, understand that our country cannot succeed when a shrinking few do very well and a growing many barely make it. We believe that America's prosperity must rest upon the broad shoulders of a rising middle class. We know that America thrives when every person can find independence and pride in their work, when the wages of honest labor liberate families from the brink of hardship. We are true to our creed when a little girl born into the bleakest poverty knows that she has the same chance to succeed as anybody else because she is an American, she is free, and she is equal not just in the eyes of God, but also in our own. We understand that outworn programs are inadequate to the needs of our time. So we must harness new ideas and technology to remake our government, revamp our tax code, reform our schools, and empower our citizens with the skills they need to work harder, learn more, reach higher. But while the means will change, our purpose endures. A nation that rewards the effort and determination of every single American. That is what this moment requires. That is what will give real meaning to our creed. We, the people, still believe that every citizen deserves a basic measure of security and dignity. We must make the hard choices to reduce the cost of health care and the size of our deficit. But we reject the belief that America must choose between caring for the generation that built this country and investing in the generation that will build its future. For we remember the lessons of our past, when twilight years were spent in poverty and parents of a child with a disability had nowhere to turn. We do not believe that in this country freedom is reserved for the lucky or happiness for the few. We recognize that no matter how responsibly we live our lives, any one of us, at any time, may face a job loss or a sudden illness or a home swept away in a terrible storm. The commitments we make to each other through Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security, these things do not sap our initiative, they strengthen us. They do not not make us a nation of takers. They free us to take the risks that make this country great. We, the people, still believe that our obligations as Americans are not just to ourselves, but to all posterity. We will respond to the threat of climate change, knowing that the failure to do so would betray our children and future generations. Some may still deny the overwhelming judgment of science, but none can avoid the devastating impact of raging fires and crippling drought and more powerful storms. The path towards sustainable energy sources will be long and sometimes difficult. But America cannot resist this transition. We must lead it. We cannot cede to other nations the technology that will power new jobs and new industries. We must claim its promise. That's how we will maintain our economic vitality and our national treasure. Our forests and waterways, our croplands and snow-capped peaks. That is how we will preserve our planet, commanded to our care by God. That's what will lend meaning to the creed our fathers once declared. We, the people, still believe that enduring security and lasting peace do not require perpetual war. Our brave men and women in uniform, tempered by the flames of battle, are unmatched in skill and courage. Our citizens, seared by the memory of those we have lost, know too well the price that is paid for liberty. The knowledge of their sacrifice will keep us forever vigilant against those who would do us harm. But we are also heirs to those who won the peace and not just the war, who turned sworn enemies into the surest of friends, and we must carry those lessons into this time as well. We will defend our people and uphold our values through strength of arms and rule of law. We will show the courage to try and resolve our differences with other nations peacefully, not because we are naive about the dangers we face, but because engagement can more durably lift suspicion and fear. America will remain the anchor of strong alliances in every corner of the globe. And we will renew those institutions that extend our capacity to manage crisis abroad. For no one has a greater stake in a peaceful world than its most powerful nation. We will support democracy from Asia to Africa, from the Americas to the Middle East, because our interests and our conscience compel us to act on behalf of those who long for freedom. And we must be a source of hope to the poor, the sick, the marginalized, the victims of prejudice, not out of mere charity, but because peace in our time requires the constant advance of those principles that our common creed describes: tolerance and opportunity, human dignity, and justice. We, the people, declare today that the most evident of truths, that all of us are created equal, is the star that guides us still. Just as it guided our forebears through Seneca Falls and Selma and Stonewall, just as it guided all those men and women, sung and unsung, who left footprints along this great mall, to hear a preacher say that we cannot walk alone, to hear a king proclaim that our individual freedom is inextricably bound to the freedom of every soul on earth. It is now our generation's task to carry on what those pioneers began. For our journey is not complete until our wives, our mothers, and daughters can earn a living equal to their efforts. Our journey is not complete until our gay brothers and sisters are treated like anyone else under the law. For if we are truly created equal, then surely the love we commit to one another must be equal as well. Our journey is not complete until no citizen is forced to wait for hours to exercise the right to vote. Our journey is not complete until we find a better way to welcome the striving, hopeful immigrants who still see America as a land of opportunity, until bright young students and engineers are enlisted in our workforce rather than expelled from our country. Our journey is not complete until all our children, from the streets of Detroit to the hills of Appalachia to the quiet lanes of Newtown, know that they are cared for and cherished and always safe from harm. That is our generation's task, to make these words, these rights, these values of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness real for every American. Being true to our founding documents does not require us to agree on every contour of life. It does not mean we all define liberty in exactly the same way or follow the same precise path to happiness. Progress does not compel us to settle centuries-long debates about the role of government for all time, but it does require us to act in our time. For now, decisions are upon us, and we cannot afford delay. We cannot mistake absolutism for principle, or substitute spectacle for politics, or treat name-calling as reasoned debate. We must act. We must act knowing that our work will be imperfect. We must act knowing that today's victories will be only partial, and that it will be up to those who stand here in 4 years, and 40 years, and 400 years hence to advance the timeless spirit once conferred to us in a spare Philadelphia hall. My fellow Americans, the oath I have sworn before you today, like the one recited by others who serve in this Capitol, was an oath to God and country, not party or faction. And we must faithfully execute that pledge during the duration of our service. But the words I spoke today are not so different from the oath that is taken each time a soldier signs up for duty, or an immigrant realizes her dream. My oath is not so different from the pledge we all make to the flag that waves above and that fills our hearts with pride. They are the words of citizens, and they represent our greatest hope. You and I, as citizens, have the power to set this country's course. You and I, as citizens, have the obligation to shape the debates of our time, not only with the votes we cast, but with the voices we lift in defense of our most ancient values and enduring ideals. Let us, each of us, now embrace with solemn duty and awesome joy what is our lasting birthright. With common effort and common purpose, with passion and dedication, let us answer the call of history and carry into an uncertain future that precious light of freedom. Thank you, God bless you, and may He forever bless these United States of America.
Please join me in welcoming award-winning artist Kelly Clarkson, accompanied by the United States Marine Band. Wow. Our next distinguished guest is the poet Richard Blanco, who will share with us words he has composed for this occasion.
Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, America, one today. One sun rose on us today, kindled over our shores, peeking over the Smokies, greeting the faces of the Great Lakes, spreading a simple truth across the Great Plains, then charging across the Rockies. One light, waking up rooftops, under each one a story, told by our silent gestures moving across windows. My face, your face, millions of faces in morning's mirrors, each one yawning to life, crescendoing into our day. The pencil yellow school buses, the rhythm of traffic lights, fruit stands, apples, limes, and oranges arrayed like rainbows, begging our praise. Silver trucks heavy with oil or paper, bricks or milk, teeming over highways alongside us on our way to clean tables, read ledgers, or save lives, to teach geometry or ring up groceries, as my mother did for 20 years, so I could write this poem for all of us today. All of us, as vital as the one light we move through, the same light on blackboards with lessons for the day, equations to solve, history to question, or atoms imagined, the I have a dream we all keep dreaming, or the impossible vocabulary of sorrow that won't explain the empty desks of 20 children marked absent today and forever. Many prayers, but one light, breathing color into stained glass windows, life into the faces of bronze statues, warmth onto the steps of our museums and park benches as mothers watch children slide into the day. One ground, our ground, rooting us to every stalk of corn, every head of wheat sown by sweat and hands, hands gleaning coal or planting windmills in deserts and hilltops that keep us warm, hands digging trenches, routing pipes and cables, hands as worn as my father's, cutting sugarcane so my brother and I could have books and shoes. The dust of farms and deserts, cities and plains, mingled by one wind, our breath. Breathe. Hear it through the day's gorgeous din of honking cabs, buses launching down avenues, the symphony of footsteps, guitars, and screeching subways, the unexpected songbird on your clothesline. Hear squeaky playground swings, trains whistling, or whispers across cafe tables. Hear the doors we open each day for each other, saying, hello, shalom, buongiorno, howdy, namaste, or buenos dias, in the language my mother taught me, in every language, spoken into one wind, carrying our lives without prejudice, as these words break from my lips. One sky, since the Appalachians and Sierras claimed their majesty, and the Mississippi and Colorado worked their way to the sea. Thank the work of our hands, weaving steel into bridges, finishing one more report for the boss on time, stitching another wound or uniform, the first brushstroke on a portrait, or the last floor on the Freedom Tower, jutting into the sky that yields to our resilience. One sky, toward which we sometimes lift our eyes, tired from work, some days guessing at the weather of our lives, some days giving thanks for a love that loves you back, sometimes praising a mother who knew how to give, or forgiving a father who couldn't give what you wanted. We head home through the gloss of rain or weight of snow or the plum blush of dusk, but always, always home, always under one sky, our sky, and always one moon, like a silent drum tapping on every rooftop and every window of one country, all of us facing the stars. Hope, a new constellation, waiting for us to map it, waiting for us to name it together.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my privilege to introduce Reverend Dr. Luis Leon to deliver the benediction.
Let us pray. Gracious and eternal God, as we conclude the second inauguration of President Obama, we ask for your blessings as we seek to become, in the words of Martin Luther King, citizens of a beloved community, loving you and loving our neighbors as ourselves. We pray that you will bless us with your continued presence, because without it, hatred and arrogance will infect our hearts. But with your blessing, we know that we can break down the walls that separate us. We pray for your blessing today, because without it, mistrust, prejudice, and rancor will rule our hearts. But with the blessing of your presence, we know that we can renew the ties of mutual regard which can best form our civic life. We pray for your blessing, because without it, suspicion, despair, and fear of those different from us will be our rule of life. But with your blessing, we can see each other created in your image, a unit of God's grace, unprecedented, irrepeatable, and irreplaceable. We pray for your blessing, because without it, we will see only what the eye can see. But with the blessing of your blessing, we will see that we are created in your image, whether brown, black, or white, male or female, first-generation immigrant American, or daughter of the American Revolution, gay or straight, rich or poor. We pray for your blessing, because without it, we will only see scarcity in the midst of abundance. But with your blessing, we will recognize the abundance of the gifts of this good land with which you have endowed this nation. We pray for your blessing. Bless all of us, privileged to be citizens and residents of this nation, with a spirit of gratitude and humility, that we may become a blessing among the nations of this world. We pray that you will shower with your life-giving spirit the elected leaders of this land, especially Barack, our president, and Joe, our vice president. Fill them with the love of truth and righteousness, that they may serve this nation ably and be glad to do your will. Endow their hearts with wisdom and forbearance, so that peace may prevail with righteousness, justice with order, so that men and women throughout this nation can find with one another the fulfillment of our humanity. We pray that the President, Vice President, and all in political authority will remember the words of the prophet Micah. What does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love kindness, and always walk humbly with God? Señor Presidente y Vicepresidente, Que Dios os bendiga a todos sus días. Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, may God bless you all your days. All this we pray in your most holy name. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the singing of our national anthem by award-winning artist Beyoncé, accompanied by the U.S. Marine Band. Following the national anthem, please remain at your place while the presidential party exits the platform.
President of the United States and the Vice President of the United States. This is the start. Yesterday was the start of the second term, but today is really the start of the second term because we heard the President really spell out in considerable detail his priorities for this second term. And indeed, he went way beyond what I thought he was going to do in laying out his agenda, not only on specific economic issues, on national security issues, but also speaking in very personal terms about climate change, for example. I was surprised to hear him to get into some of those political details. Gay rights, making it clear he supports gay marriage and is going to fight for those gay marriage. He also made it clear that he wants to go forward on some of the most specific entitlement issues and not deal with some of the and not avoid some of those critical issues like Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. Those are his priorities right now, and we even heard him talk about Newtown, Connecticut, and guns. The President of the United States was very, very forceful in these words. It was clear he thought long and hard about each sentence he was going to make, because each one had a potentially very powerful political impact in setting the agenda for his second term. So the President of the United States surprised me when he went forward and went into such specific detail on so many of these important issues. Anderson, as you can tell, I was surprised, but I wonder how you reacted to what you heard from the President.
Well, we should also point out that the President and Vice President, the First Lady, and Dr. Biden are going to be heading to an inaugural luncheon right now inside the Capitol building, so we won't see them for some time. But I think, Wolf, just echoing some of what you said, both his comments on climate change, I think are probably maybe surprising to a number of people. It's not something we heard really anything about over the first 4 years. Clearly, it seems to be something this president feels very strongly about moving forward in the next 4 years and for his legacy. And for a president who only recently, to use his word, evolved on the issue of same-sex marriage, he made very forceful statements in this inaugural address, actually historic statements on equal rights for gay and lesbian Americans, putting in the same category Seneca Falls back in 1848 when a women's rights convention or conference was held there, in Selma, Alabama, 1965 when Alabama state troopers attacked civil rights marchers. In those same category as Seneca Falls and Selma, he put Stonewall, the Stonewall uprising, which took place in New York's Greenwich Village in 1969 on June 27th, when police raided a small gay bar called the Stonewall, and tenants and patrons at that bar fought back, and that was really the spark of the modern-day civil rights movement for gay and lesbian Americans. And he went on to talk about gay and lesbian Americans, saying our journey is not complete until our gay brothers and sisters are treated like anyone else under the law. For if we are truly created equal, then surely the love we commit to one another must be equal as well. I think that's the first time, John King, in an inaugural address where gay and lesbian Americans were particularly cited.
Near the Newseum Hour, you see the Vice President, Dr. Jill Biden. They're going through the rotunda now. They'll be going outside together with the President, the First Lady, the Speaker, the Majority Leader, the Minority Leaders as well. They're going to be walking down those stairs, and they're going to be reviewing the troops, in effect saluting the troops, saying thank you so much for everything the men and women of the United States military do. This is the last official act, Jeffrey Toobin, that the President and the First Lady will do before they get into the motorcade, the presidential limo, to take them on that route down Pennsylvania Avenue from the Capitol all the way over to the White House. And for those people who know Washington, they're going to go down Pennsylvania Avenue. They'll make a right turn at 15th Street. They'll go up 15th Street, then make a left. They'll come up to where we are right here, this reviewing stand here on the north lawn of the White House.
You know, when President Kennedy made this trip in 1961, he was so appalled by the conditions along the way, that the buildings were falling down. He actually said, we have to get this area improved, and it took a long time. Daniel Patrick Moynihan was later the senator from New York. He was responsible for trying to revive Pennsylvania Avenue, and it is so different and so much improved than it was much earlier. But it was an inaugural parade that had very significant effect.
Here they come, the President and the First Lady. They're pretty happy right now. They're going through Statuary Hall. They're going to be walking down the stairs, saluting the men and women of the United States military. And as they do that, let's remember, Kate, that there are still almost 70,000, about 65,000 U.S. troops still serving in Afghanistan right now. All U.S. troops are out of Iraq, but there are still about 65,000 U.S. troops in Afghanistan, all of them in harm's way. All U.S. troops are supposed to be out of Afghanistan by the end of 2014. Maybe they could accelerate that withdrawal a little bit. But as the President and the First Lady, they go down these stairs, let's remember those men and women who remain in harm's way in Afghanistan and in elsewhere around the world. There's still a lot of serious issues throughout North Africa, the Middle East, in Asia. Still about 30,000 U.S. troops along the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, between North and South Korea as well. And so let's not forget those troops as we watch what's
We're
going
reminded
on.
of it almost every day as we see in the headlines that we cover of what a dangerous world this is and how our troops are protecting us. As we're awaiting the president and the First Lady, as well as Joe Biden, the Vice President, Dr. Biden, to review the military and then get into their cars to start the fun, as we like to say. Jeffrey, I wanted to ask you your thoughts on the oath this time around.
You know, it was Chief Justice Fondest Hope. He's not the story today. It was a flawless performance on his part.
They did a really good job. Anderson, they're going to be moving down Pennsylvania Avenue toward you guys. You might even be able to look to your right a little bit, and you might see the parade, the floats, the bands, and the president going out.
That's right. And our Dana Bash is with Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta while President Obama is about to review the troops. Let's actually take a look and just listen.
As we listen to the fife and drum, let's go to Dana. She's got a very, very special guest, an appropriate one right now. Dana?
This is one of those cases where it's better to be lucky than good, and we do have the Secretary of Defense right now with us as we are watching the Commander-in-Chief review the troops. You are the departing Defense Secretary, but you obviously have a front row seat to the President's relationship with those people who he's honoring right now.
He's really had a terrific relationship with the military. He's been very supportive. His wife, of course, and Jill Biden have been very supportive of benefits for our wounded warriors and for their families. And because of that, I think the troops really have a very high regard for him. And it's important because, frankly, these young men and women have to go into battle, put their lives on the line, and to have the President of the United States be able to back you 100%
you can't beat that.
This is the beginning of the president's second term. You are leaving. What do you hope to see in the second term from afar, from your winery in Northern California?
Well, I think it's really important that they provide some budget certainty here. We're going through, obviously, deficit reduction. It's important that defense play its role. But we fashioned a strategy that protects the United States as the strongest military power on earth. If the Congress allows the sequester to go in, or if these budget cuts impact, I think that'll do incredible damage to our defense.
And real quick, one of the first official acts that the president did in his second term was to officially nominate your successor, Chuck Hagel. It's pretty controversial up here. It looks like he'll get through. But do you feel that some of the criticism is warranted?
No, I know Chuck Hagel, and I'm very confident that, first of all, he'll win confirmation. And he'll get some tough questions, but there's no question in my mind he'll be able to handle it. That's what Secretary of Defenses have to do.
Okay, thank you. And the mood in there, was it pretty good in the lunch?
Great. It was a great mood.
Okay, thank you for stopping.
Thank
Good
you.
luck to you.
Bye-bye.
Back to you, Wolf.
Thanks very much, the President and the First Lady, the Vice President, the Second Lady. They have wrapped up their review of the troops, a nice gesture to wrap up an historic day up on Capitol Hill. They're now in the presidential limos. The motorcade is getting ready to leave to depart Capitol Hill, and this will be the official start of the parade. They will go down Pennsylvania Avenue. They'll drive for a little while, but at some point they will stop. They will get out, we are told. The crowds will go crazy. They have been waiting for hours and hours on both sides of Pennsylvania Avenue. Security is intense, obviously, for good reasons. But this is one of the most exciting moments. And, Kate, as we get ready to see the start of this parade, you've been doing a lot of research on the floats and the marching bands. Give us a little preview. I am so excited because I know that the floats especially are going to be great.
The floats are going to be fabulous. And there are some 8,800 people that are going to be involved with this parade. Also, you might want to know, some 200 animals involved with the parade. Really?
What kind of animals?
Like horses and stuff
like
my
that.
research did not go that far.
All right.
But stand by, it's a surprise.
Yeah, all right, good.
We also have 8 official inaugural floats that include honoring the home states of both the Obamas as well as the Bidens. So we will see those, and those would be very
That
great.
would be Hawaii and Illinois and Delaware, among others.
Exactly, among others. So we're waiting for those. 59 groups, marching bands galore that we're going to be looking for. So there's going to be a lot going on. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a celebration. And some odd numbers that I have here. 41 is the number of unicyclists we will be seeing in the parade
too.
today.
Wow. Anderson, I don't know about you, but yesterday we had a preview of the Grambling State University Marching Band. They were playing with you and with me right over there in the National Mall. They're going to be playing for the entire world momentarily as this parade gets underway.
That's right. They're actually the lead band in the parade. It's their third time in an inaugural parade to lead it off. It's Grambling State, of course, is from central Louisiana. So a lot of folks in Louisiana are going to be very excited to hear that. Jessica Yellen, you and I were talking before about the movie Lincoln and the impact that has had on President Obama. I think a lot of people don't realize the extent to which he has been quoting it around the White House.
It's true, Anderson. He has said that Abraham Lincoln is his favorite president, but since this movie has come out and he screened it in the White House movie theater, he's been quoting not just Abraham Lincoln himself, but actually lines from the movie. And in jest, I should say, he's doing it somewhat ironically. But the reason he likes Lincoln so much is because Lincoln is sort of the ultimate fighter, the president who unified a nation during a time of incredible division. And so all presidents look to him as the one who persevered through the worst. So no one wants to compare themselves to him because it would not be humble. So they're always careful to say they don't. But, they like to quote him. And so President Obama, I'm told, has been quoting him a lot, and especially Daniel Day-Lewis. And Daniel Day-Lewis was there at a dinner in the residence with a lot of the cast.
So this is going to be very exciting for all the people who have been on the National Mall, who now have gone to the parade ground. We see the president approaching, starting the parade route. The First Family, of course, will take their seats and then watch as the rest of the parade goes by.
And this is the pivot point of the day. Now we go to celebration. We have a parade that is a celebration for the president and the vice president, but also for the country. You mentioned the variety, the diversity of the floats and the bands and others who will participate in the parade. Then you have the balls tonight. So we're pivoting now to the celebration, which the country deserves and which the winners of the election, the president and the vice president, very much deserve. A big question in my mind is that what we've seen in the last few hours is this spirit of friendliness and cooperation, and all the right things were said. Let's circle back in a week or three and just see, even if on a few things they can sustain it and show we're going to fight over this, but we made some progress here. We're going to fight over that, but we made some progress here. The trust deficit, Margaret spoke about it earlier, that's the biggest deficit in town. You can't solve the financial problems, the financial deficits, until they solve the trust deficit. And maybe it's hopeful idealism, but maybe they made a small down payment today.
And I was also thinking, as I was watching the president review the troops, and you heard Leon Panetta talk about the First Lady and Jill Biden and how much they've done for the troops and their families. But I'm also thinking, coming into this next phase, this is going to be a president that could have some difficult relationships with generals. He's always been concerned about the generals and not being overtaken by them, and he has spoken an awful lot about that, as presidents have to make their own decisions, not be led too much by the generals. I think the nomination of Chuck Hagel is somebody who was a sergeant, whom he believes comes at the Pentagon from the view of the bottom of the ladder, not at the top of the ladder. And so I think you're going to have some real issues.
General Stanley McChrystal wrote about that actually in his new book. He talked about kind of the deficit of trust they had early on in the administration. Let's go back to Wolf, who's waiting down by the White House, down by the parade grounds. Wolf?
You can see the presidential limo, Anderson, just beginning to move slowly. You see the Secret Service van right behind that presidential limo there. Obviously is very tight security. The vice president is there, and the president and the first lady. They are being accompanied by what's initially called the presidential escort. These are the parade's performing groups organized into 5 divisions, each led by one branch of the U.S. Armed Forces, the Army, the Marine Corps, the Navy, the Air Force, and yes, the Coast Guard as well, even though the Coast Guard is part of the Department of Homeland Security, not the part of the Department of Defense. It is one of the 5 branches of the U.S. Armed Forces as it is considered on this day. In addition to these 5 armed forces, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, and Coast Guard, there will also be representatives of the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police. They will be participating in this presidential escort, as it's called, as this parade begins. They've got to line up everyone. They got to get everybody going, Kate, to make sure that they're all ready to go, because once they start moving, they don't want to have to stop again.
There's really no stopping that they want to do.
Right. They don't want to stop. They want to keep on going. So they're just lining everyone up. And it's all extremely well coordinated. Division 1 begins with the United States Army. Then they go on to the Color Guard, various National Guard units. But then there's a marching band from the Panoa High School marching band. That would be in Honolulu, Hawaii.
That would be in Honolulu, Hawaii. That is where the high school, the school that President Obama graduated from in 1979. So there is a lot of, this is all planned down to the very person and the very float, I can assure you. And everyone, though, waiting to see where and when and whether President Obama and possibly the First Lady will be getting out of that limo. You know, of course, that is the moment when the Secret Service all hold their breath.
Yeah, everybody gets a little nervous for good reasons. And that's why, Jeffrey Toobin, there has been such incredible security as we get ready for this.
You see it right there. Look at that.
You see the police over there. They're lined up. They're going to be... what a show of force. That presidential escort, Jeffrey, is very, very impressive.
And of course, things changed after 9/11. That the security in Washington is so dramatically different from when you first came here. When I first started visiting Washington, the post 9/11 security is of a completely different order of magnitude. All those people we will see along the along the route pass through metal detectors to be allowed to stand where they are. So it's not like this is just some random crowds on the street. There are no reserved seats along most of the ways, but everybody has been through at least some form of screening.
And once you go down Pennsylvania Avenue and you see many of those office buildings on both sides of Pennsylvania Avenue, Every one of those buildings has been secured. As they say, they've been swept to make sure that everything is quiet inside, and that there's nothing that could really happen that would endanger anyone in this parade.
No, security is absolutely tops. I'm sure if it's a building with a parking garage in it, every car had to be out of the parking garage, every floor of every office building, and we know there are many that line Pennsylvania Avenue that have all been closed, well, for a very good reason, as we watch this all begin. So it's looking right now, it's moving very slowly, but for good reason. Everyone wants a chance to wave at the first family.
I like the Secret Service guys who walk as the motorcade moves. These guys are they're in excellent shape, I got to tell you, they're excellent condition, because sometimes that car begins to move a little bit more quickly, so they start running a little bit. By the way, you see in front of the presidential limo, you see some photographers. Those are some journalists. They have unique access, so we're going to be able to.
Yeah, they themselves have quite a setup. All
right, as we watch this parade begin, and the police escort, the military escort, just getting underway. It's all very choreographed. Dana Bash has got another special guest with her. Dana?
That's right. The Majority Leader of the House, Eric Cantor, thank you very much. You not only are the Majority Leader in the House, but you also were a co-chair of the Joint Inaugural Committee. So you're very much involved in the process here. You had a front row seat. Let's just start with your partisan reaction, frankly. What did you think of the speech?
Look, I mean, today is a day for all of us in this country to come together. It was the swearing in, the inaugural of our commander-in-chief. And, it really doesn't matter who you voted for, which side you're on. Today is a day we can all come together. And I think that the president's speech was one that spoke to some of the aspirations that he has for this country. I think many of us share in what he spoke about, which is trying to help folks who haven't necessarily benefited from upward mobility in the past.
Now, you are being very generous. I think that this is traditionally a nonpartisan day, but some Republicans out there in the Twitterverse are saying that they thought that the president's inaugural address was too aggressive, too overly partisan, too liberal.
I think that the president did a fine job, certainly laying out what he would like to see happen as far as the future of the country. There are plenty of areas of disagreement, but there are also some things fundamentally we agree on. And that is, this country is one of opportunity. And, sort of the way we get there to help everybody, there are some differences. Hopefully we can bridge those differences.
Okay, you're our fly on the wall for two behind-the-scenes moments I want to ask you about. First, right over there, the Martin Luther King statue. The president was talking about some things. What was he saying?
Well, first of all, he said it was the first time that he had ever seen the statue and stopped. And obviously, today is also Martin Luther King Day. Very symbolic, given it is the inaugural for Barack Obama as well. But I think it was just recognition there of the importance that Martin Luther King has played, not only for, the African-American community in this country, but for all of us.
And then the lunch that you helped put on, for 45 minutes, we couldn't see it. It went dark. You were inside. What happened?
It's a very nice lunch, and it is really a continuum of the spirit of the day where both sides come together. There's bipartisan representation at the tables. There's legislative branch, judicial branch, executive branch, all sharing tables, and just nothing but good. Hopefully that kind of cooperative spirit can continue.
And last 4 years ago, the president accused of not socializing didn't eat. We heard that he socialized all the time. Did he eat or socialize?
Yes, and I think one even sort of indicated that he was the one for the delay in the program because he went to every table and shook every hand.
Very interesting, very interesting. Yeah, maybe it's a new day. We'll see. We'll see. For both parties. Back to you, Wolf.
Ask him, Dana, if he can't hear me. Ask him how long this goodwill is going to last.
Wolf wants to know how long the goodwill is going to last.
Right. I said you and I both, Dana would say to Wolf, we hope that this lasts and then that we can focus on solutions, bridging differences, setting aside differences, and trying to focus on what we have in common as Americans.
There you go. There's your answer, Wolf.
Sounds good to me. Let's see if they can do that. If they can, that would be encouraging to everyone in the country. Thank the Majority Leader from all of us. All right, here's the presidential limo. You can see it just beginning slowly, very, very slowly to move. It's not moving quickly for a simple reason. They've got to get everyone organized behind They're really want to make sure that everything is well coordinated. They've been rehearsing this, they've been practicing it, and there's a lot of choreography. Don Lemon, where are you? Because you got a good seat over there.
I do. I'm actually again right in front of the museum, and we just saw the motorcycle officers come in front of us, and now we're just starting to see the color guard and then the military band. And it's really just sort of the warm-up. The people here are getting really excited because they're anticipating, of course, the President and the First Lady to come by in the motorcade. So it's moving really slow, Wolf, but people are patient. But they are anticipating, again, the President and the First Lady to come by. And every once in a while, you get a big roar and a big cheer that goes up when they see a black limo or they see an SUV and they think it's the President and the First Lady. But again, the military band coming by now, the ceremonial guard. You can hear the announcement in the background coming by. I'm standing by with two little friends here, a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old, right here in front of the barricade. And we're waiting. You guys are excited?
He's 9.
He's 9.
I'm 8.
And 8. And they're from Georgia, and they're correcting me. They're a lot smarter than me today, and we're all waiting. So we're standing by, Wolf, just like you guys are.
Yeah, they're moving slowly, Don. They'll get to you pretty soon. You're at the museum, so that's at 6th in Pennsylvania. They're just getting ready to move a little bit of 1st and 2nd. So you got a little while to go. They're going to pass the Canadian Embassy before they reach you. You know what? Our own Jim Acosta has got an unbelievable view of what's going on. Jim, tell our viewers exactly where you are.
Wolf, I'm on Constitution Avenue right now, just before we make that turn onto Pennsylvania Avenue. And you can just see some of the folks who are lined up along this parade route. They're very excited, obviously, not only to see the president, but they're also waving to our truck as well. But just to give our viewers a sense of what's happening right now, I'm on the back of a flatbed truck along with the other representatives of the national news media, and we're going to basically do what's called the dance. We're all going to take turns getting in front of the president's limo, getting that shot of the president, Mrs. Obama, should they get out of their limo at some point and walk down this parade route. We all hope that they will. We'll be in position to bring that to you. And just to pick up on what we were talking about earlier today about the parade and everything that goes into the makings of this parade, I was talking to the longtime announcer for this parade, Charlie Brotman, who said that President Obama is different when it comes to these inaugurals. His inaugural parades are from the heart, and what he meant by that is that President Obama and Mrs. Obama seem to want to bring in groups from all over the country, groups that might not have a chance to participate in an inaugural parade, and that this is their chance, almost sort of like the message that the president was talking about today, that everybody in this country gets a chance, everybody's got a shot. We're seeing some of that reflected in this parade, Wolf.
We certainly are. So you've really got a great view of what's going on. All right, the parade is underway right now. The presidential limo, you see it right there. It's moving down Pennsylvania Avenue, and not far away is our own Don Lemon. Don, can you see the limo yet from where you are?
I can. I'm trying to look over the barricade and see the limo. We've been telling you, we're between Constitution and 6th on Pennsylvania Avenue, Wolf. And you know, it's pretty cool. I have to admit, you know, all the years that we've been covering it, I'm sure you will agree here. No matter how often you see it, to see they just announced the President of the United States getting closer. They said the First Lady of the United States and the President of the United States coming close to where we are now, so they're getting really close to here. But to see all of the state troopers and officers from all over the United States, and to see the diversity in the crowd here and people from all over the world, I mean, it just makes you feel good about being an American here, and just to see the number of people who are here. And in this information age, every single person, to a person, everyone has an iPad out or an iPhone, and they're taking pictures and they're taking video. And now they're announcing the Vice President and the Second Lady of the United States. And Wolf, I'm able to see people on top of trucks, and I think it's media. It's probably one of the trucks that Jim Acosta's on top of, and we're getting a look at them going by. And so they are in front of the motorcade of the President of the United States. And I see Jim Acosta, as a matter of fact. So I'd imagine, yep, the President is making his way right past where we are. And there's Jim Acosta, the President, right now at Constitution Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue. And you can hear the crowd where we are.
Hey, Jim Acosta, can you, if you can hear me, Jim Acosta, can you see Don Lemon from where you are? Because he says he sees you.
Waving to your left, a little more to your left.
Other people down. I don't quite see him.
A little more, right here, Jim. Right here,
guys.
Jim. Right in front of you.
Hey, there's Don Lemon right there. Hey, how you doing, Don? You're looking good.
Right here.
With all your friends.
So I see Jim, and right behind him, there he is. There's the president in his motorcade.
Hey, Don Lemon, you're a man of the people, but you got a lot of people with you. What do they think? What are they saying? Talk to some of them.
What do you think?
This is really great. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah? And looking at the motorcade of the president and the first lady?
This is crazy. I just can't believe I'm actually here. I'm really happy I came.
Yeah.
This is very exciting.
Where are you from?
I'm from Washington, Maryland.
Screaming your head off.
Yes, we're from Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah.
We were here for the first one.
And you're here again.
And we're here again.
You wanted them to get out.
Oh, I want them to get out so badly. You think it's going to happen?
They're going by now.
I missed it.
I don't think it's going to happen if they're going by now.
I know.
What did you think about the speech today?
I thought it was awesome. I thought it was an electric morning. Yesterday was electric. They had everything prepared for us. We felt really safe. It's just been an awesome experience. There were 19 of us who came up. Yep.
He talked a lot about diversity.
Yeah.
He talked a lot about equality. He even mentioned gay rights.
Right.
He talked about even the environment and on this Martin Luther King Day.
Yes, it's just exceptional. To see so much diversity. When we were out on the lawn, there were so many different people there. Everyone looked different, but we all got along really well. We were all excited. So it was just an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, and I second that. It is an awesome opportunity. Do you agree with what she said?
I second it completely. I think that it was an awesome day. We, again, the focus was on the United States and making it better, making it a great place, continuing it to make it prosperous and fantastic.
Listen, we know it's the second time. This is the second inauguration, but did you ever think in your lifetime that you'd see an African-American president?
I absolutely did.
You did?
Yes, and I knew that I'd be the catalyst for getting him there.
That's confidence, Wolf Blitzer. That's confidence.
All right, good. You're having way too much fun over there, Don. Stand by. I'm going to get back to you. Robin Meade, it looks like the presidential motorcade is getting closer and closer to where you are.
It is, and if you look at the crowd where I am, they're pretty subdued, I think, as they're waiting. But I want to show you guys that the moment that I think they're going to change, right, is when the announcer over here announces that the presidential motorcade is getting very close. So they're very quiet. Do you see the people in the red hats? They're all volunteers. I'm pretty sure that probably they have an official duty, but you can see they too are just as excited.
Robin, hold on for 1 second, because Jim Acosta is on that platform vehicle right in front of the president's limo. Jim, what are you seeing?
Wolf, I can see right into the president's limo right now. I can see the president of the United States waving to people along Pennsylvania Avenue here. It's a stirring sight. The Capitol lit up by the afternoon sun off in the background, and the president just two vehicles behind us right now. And as we're going down Pennsylvania Avenue, I saw our colleague earlier, Don Lemon, coming up on Robin Meade's position. But you could probably hear over my microphone right now, Wolf, the announcer as we're coming down Pennsylvania Avenue, announcing the President of the United States, announcing the First Lady. At that moment, everybody just starts cheering and starts celebrating. It's really something.
Hey, Jim Acosta, you're going right by Robin Meade, so wait.
I'm right behind you.
I think she sees you. Say hi.
Robin, how are you?
With
Good
the
to
big
see
hat. Hey, how are you?
There you go.
Well, don't you have the view of the day?
I do. Yes, I do.
Wait to this crowd.
What do you see from where you are?
It's fun
Hey guys,
to watch
how
the
are
mood
you?
change.
Good to see you.
Okay, so you're closer than us. What can you see inside the vehicle, Jim?
Robin, what I could see earlier, I distinctly saw the President of the United States smiling with that very big teethy smile that he has, looking very happy, waving to the folks up and down Pennsylvania Avenue.
We know these people want him to get out.
What everybody's waiting to see, Robin, is when does the president get out? That's what we're all waiting for at this
point. Bye, Jim.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden.
And I guess you can hear now they're also announcing the Vice President. That's something that we're hearing as we make our way down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah.
Hey, Robin, can you see the motorcade already?
I can definitely see the motorcade. They're right in front of us, and the crowd is cheering.
Maybe you can wave to the president.
You know, they are busy waving. Let's see if I can get a free hand here from my microphone. And Mrs. Obama is very easy to see right now because the sun is setting and it's shining into the car. So we can see her kind of looking back and waving. And the crowd loves it. There's a lot of cell phones up and a lot of cameras up. Isn't it funny how we live the moment, but we also photograph it now?
Of course we do. So, Robin, what street are you on right now? Where are you? I want to just get a sense of how close you are to where we are at the north, near the north lawn of the White House at the reviewing stand.
Yeah, so I'm at Pennsylvania and 7th. Pennsylvania and 7th, and that motorcade just went by.
Good. All right, so he's moving. They're making some pretty good progress, Kate, as we see what's going on. 7th, they got to go up to 15th. They'll make a right at 15th. I know they're getting closer and closer. They went from Don Lemon to Robin Meade and Aaron Burnett. Aaron, where are you? Because pretty soon you're going to see the president.
Yeah, we're here on Pennsylvania and 13th, and we can watch them coming closer and closer. Look behind us. You can see they're coming. One thing here is we have United States military starting to come by that I think is so amazing about the United States having the best military in the world, Brianna. 28 inches a step, 110 steps a minute. That's what they do, every one of them.
And I think it's fantastic that they're here kicking off the parade because even though this parade has become such a formal affair, it's really the military that has been a part of it from the first time that the inauguration parade took place here in Washington, D.C. in 1801 with Thomas Jefferson. It was a very spontaneous affair, though, a company of riflemen. It got a little more...
All right, hold on, guys, hold on. It looks like the presidential limo has just stopped. I suspect we are about to see the president and the first lady getting out of that limo. Let's just watch and listen for a second as we see what happens.
The Vice President and other dignitaries from the Capitol to the White House at the conclusion of the swearing-in ceremony. The presidential escort places the troops back on the first inaugural in George Washington, who was escorted to the steps of New York Federal Hall by members of the United States Armed Forces to be sworn in as the first president of the United States.
It's getting hard to hear you down here because the cheers are so loud, but Wolf and everybody you can see just behind me, just behind that limo, is the President of the United States and Michelle Obama walking down Pennsylvania Avenue, waving to the crowd on both sides of the street. The President and the First Lady don't look very cold. It's not that cold today. For our viewers who are wondering, is it as cold as some inaugurals could be? No, it's not. This is actually pretty balmy for January. And obviously this is the moment that everybody is waiting for on Inauguration Day when the President and the First Lady step out of their limo and walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I feel like I should pinch myself right now, Wolf. I can't believe I have this vantage point of history in the making.
You're literally, about 15, 20 feet away from the president?
I'm probably a good, I would say, 50 feet away from the president right now, Wolf, but very, very close. And you can see the Secret Service agents all around him. There's a steady cam next to him as well. I guess those are folks getting some really close shots. Their vantage point slightly better than ours, Wolf. That's the pool camera right there. But what we're all doing right now, where we are standing and other folks with the national news media, they're on the backs of these trucks. We're all doing this sort of dance right now, and we just got lucky enough, Wolf, to be in position where our truck was right in front of the president and First Lady as they're walking down Pennsylvania Avenue. So just the luck of the draw, but it worked out pretty well. As you can see, every time he passes, another block of people lined up along the street. The cheers just go up on both sides of Pennsylvania Avenue. And every once in a while, I feel like I have to look back and see it for myself, Wolf. Trying to take some pictures along the way, some of them for the kids at home.
You're taking pictures. I assume you're tweeting some of those pictures at Jim Acosta CNN. Is that right? Is that your Twitter handle? Wolf, I don't know if Jim can hear me, but you know what? He's very excited. We're all very excited to see what's going on. But Kate, Jeffrey, we may be excited, but the folks who have been waiting for hours on both sides of that street, They are seeing history right now, and they are thrilled.
Some of our correspondents that have been on the parade route have said people have been there since 2:30 in the morning to try to get a good position. I mean, this is what all of these folks are waiting for. And I think as we were watching, as they're getting out of the car, you could see people rushing to try to get to the very spot just to get a glimpse of them. Yep. I mean, this is history in the making. These are these images that we look back on years and years later.
Aaron Burnett is out there on Pennsylvania Avenue as well. He's making his way closer and closer, Aaron, towards you, together with the First Lady. You're there with a special guest.
Yes, we are, and we're all hoping that he will stay out long enough to get here. Obviously, the entire crowd is as well. Joe Z joins us. He's the creative director at Elle Magazine. And Joe, I want to talk to you right now because we're looking at Michelle and Barack Obama. And I think the real tragedy of today is that she has to give that outfit away to the National Archives.
I know. I think that coat and that dress is so beautiful on her. I mean, literally, it's custom made for her, and you can tell that it's literally been molded onto her body.
I mean, she looks, it's absolutely beautiful. And of course, in her traditional style, as a very modern style, but she's put a J. Crew belt with a dress that would be, I mean, I know it's custom made, but a few $1,000s.
That Tom Brown coat, I think it'd be anywhere upwards of $3,000. I mean, it's made of a men's tie silk material, but it was custom done for her, so you couldn't even find it if you wanted to. Only one exists, and right now it's on Mrs. Obama.
And I'm just curious, when I looked up Tom Brown today, I tried to learn about it. It was menswear.
Yes, he really
men's
started
pants
for
that go
menswear.
above the ankle, and not
Yes.
a lot of
Short
men want to show their ankles.
Short pants and short jackets is really his trademark.
So she has made designers like Jason Wu, for example, become more of a household name in this country, something a lot of American women want to wear. A custom-made dress from a guy that's not known for women's wear, will it transform his career? Will people start wearing
Well, I
this?
mean, right away this morning, you could tell he was a trending topic immediately on Twitter. He's the buzz on everybody's lips. And I think the thing is, it does translate to buzz. Does it translate to business? I think it's tougher when it comes to luxury brands like Tom Brown.
And what did you think as well about the coordination sort of the family? It's a family affair today.
It is. I mean, I have to tell you, their daughters are like mini-me's of Michelle, and they're gorgeous. I mean, they're gorgeous, all of them. I mean, they're so color-coordinated down to the final color.
All right, we want to listen to the crowds cheering here as the President and the First Lady are walking for just a moment so you can all sort of feel you're a part of this at home. Here that is. The President is now just about a block away from where we are here on Pennsylvania Avenue, so getting closer and closer. Now, Joe, another thing I wanted to ask you about is obviously she looks absolutely stunning now, and she's going to be tonight. You said they're announcing as he's getting closer. We can't quite see him, but she would have had several dresses custom designed for tonight, correct?
She did. She's had about 15 different designers commissioned for a potential gown for this evening.
But none of them know.
No.
Not even the winner knows what she's going to wear?
No, absolutely not. I think it's always been her protocol to just really wear the dress she wants to wear, and people find out by watching.
And you think that she definitely chooses an American designer for tonight?
My bets are 100% on American designer tonight, absolutely.
So what might some of the options be?
Well, I know she's commissioned designers like Narciso Rodriguez, Cocoon, definitely Jason Wu, who designed her last inaugural gown, Tory Burch. I think there's a real handful of indie, real new names that she wants to champion.
And is she going to become she's already known as a stylish person and a style icon, but she's got a new look going right now.
She does.
It's a svelte, sleek, modern, hip look.
And the bangs. Let's not forget the bangs.
What do you think? Bangs are often very difficult for women to pull off.
They are, but I think Michelle pulls it off brilliantly. I mean, she looks very modern in them.
All right, I want to bring in Jim Acosta. Jim, we can just see you now. You're getting closer and closer. Are they getting back in now, or what do you see, Jim?
They are. I think they're getting back in. I can just barely make out the President and the First Lady from my vantage point. because of the positioning of these trucks, but I believe he has gotten back inside his limo. And you can also hear the effects of that because the cheers sort of went down along Pennsylvania Avenue. Obviously, the folks who are on this end of the parade route are going to be a little disappointed that the president isn't walking the entire route, but it was very exciting there, Aaron, for a good, I would say, half a mile of this trip down Pennsylvania Avenue to see the president and the first lady walking on foot, greeting people on both sides. And one thing that we could make out, and you can sort of see it in these windows in this office building just over my shoulder, just people with their noses pressed up against the glass, waving to the president. At one point, you could see the president sort of looking up at them and waving to them as well, clapping his hands, waving to people as he goes by, trying to acknowledge almost each and every person who is lined up along this parade route to show his appreciation. Aaron?
Yes, and obviously here, they're a little subdued. They're a little sad. He just got back in. Of course, you may recall last time in the first inauguration, he got out twice and walked each time for between 6 and 8 minutes. So obviously there's the possibility that he could get out one more time. Right behind me over my shoulder now, we are seeing the Beast, as it's called. The president's car approach. You can see right in the shot behind me the police, but it's going to pull by in just a moment. You'll hear Brianna's voice because I want to give Brianna just give a couple of the headlines. This car, it's called the Beast, is a pretty stunning machine.
It is an amazing piece of machinery, and people, unfortunately, they aren't seeing the president in person right now, but they are looking at the president and the first lady through not only bulletproof glass, but this is an entirely bulletproof vehicle. It is actually reportedly sealed in case of a biochemical attack. This is a body made out of steel, aluminum, titanium, and a ceramic material. The tires are still functional if they are punctured. And security, of course, is a very real concern. This is why we only see the president once, maybe twice in this process. Remember, the first time that an armored presidential limousine was used was for the inauguration in 1965. Very much a concern for LBJ, and so this is something that has continued. However,
and yes, it is, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Barack Obama, and the First Lady, Michelle Obama.
All right, and you just heard, obviously, the announcer's voice right next to where we are as the president is about to pass by. Jim Acosta is passing where we are sitting right now. Jim, can you, hey there? Jim has the prime spot right on the back of the pickup truck.
That's right, Aaron. And I have to hold on for dear life because even though I'm lucky enough to be on the back of this truck, there are some hazards to this prime piece of real estate.
Yeah. I love it. And as you can see everyone, all the press vehicles. The president is about to pass where I am right now. I'm going to wave to the president. Brianna and I will see.
Led by Sergeant Salvador.
We're on a platform that's about 10 or 15 feet elevated from where they are. I can see the president right now in the limo. He was just, it looked like, adjusting his coat. And they are literally passing where we are right now. Moving a little bit closer in the direction of Wolf Blitzer, of course, who is at the reviewing stand, which is where the president is headed. He's the first vehicle in this parade. Once he gets there, he will get out and watch the rest of the parade go by. As we said, there'll be 59 other groups.
Ceremonies, Chairman Senator Charles Schumer.
Charles Schumer getting a lot of airtime today.
Senator Lamar Alexander, Speaker of the House.
Wolf, he is now formally en route to you from where we are. You are the next CNN stop on his route.
Aaron, let me ask you this question. You've got a special guest who knows a lot about fashion. Why do we spend so much time talking about the First Lady's dress, coat, fashion? Such little time talking about the President of the United States and the overcoat he's wearing. What can you tell us about that overcoat?
Well, I will ask him, Wolf, but I will say I have an answer. She's more beautiful than he is and a better dresser. But other than that...
I know the poor men always get neglected, right?
Yeah.
But the president looks great.
He had a very important tie choice to make today, which
He
it looked
did.
like it coordinated with her.
He did. He was definitely coordinated. I mean, the entire family color coordinated. His blue tie was really the sort of, I have to say, the final detail to the entire Obama family and their color scheme.
All right, now everybody gets a new outfit. I'm always wondering this. You know, I just got married, and my now husband got a new suit for the wedding. But, you know, he didn't have to, right? I mean, men can, you know, does he get a new suit for his inauguration, or does he wear a suit he's already allowed?
I don't know. You know, I would hope he got a new suit today. It's a great day. It's a new suit. You can celebrate, you know. New year, new term.
And he did. He had a new suit for the last inauguration. I believe it was a tailor out of Chicago who designed his suit. So certainly you would think he might have another one today, but we don't actually know. And the fact is he coordinated his tie to her dress, not the reverse, right?
Absolutely.
That is for sure. And she probably picked the tie too, I would expect, Wolf.
I think it's fair to say she looks great, he looks great. We're going to continue our special coverage. We're now here in the Situation Room. We want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world. We're continuing to watch the President of the United States. The President of the United States and the First Lady, they are now getting closer and closer to where Kate Baldwin, Jeffrey Toobin, and I are. We're at the reviewing stand right across from the north lawn of the White House. Christy Paul is not that far away. Christy, where are you?
I'm at Madison and Pennsylvania Avenue, and this crowd has been waiting for this because, you know, the announcer, Charlie Brotman, he is an institution here. I would like to say he is spitting enthusiasm. He doesn't have that broadcaster's voice that some people might think, but you can hear how excited he gets about this, and he's been doing it for years. And he keeps telling this crowd, he's been telling them for the last hour, we're getting ready, folks. He's almost here. He's on the way. In broadcasting, that's what we like to call a deep tease. So these folks have been ready and waiting for some time as we're waiting to see the president come by. And, you know, I was talking to you earlier about the 5 branches of the military that are standing here. And they've been standing here since 9 o'clock this morning in kind of an informal, relaxed pose. But once some of the bands started coming through and the color guards, that immediately changed. We saw them saluting, and they're now in, you know, a very rigid format as they're supposed to be, getting ready to salute again as they wait for the president to come. Again, these are folks that are here strictly to honor the president and the vice president and our country. They are not part of the security forces, but we're just waiting for this crowd to get crazy again because they've been practicing doing the wave, much at Charlie Brotman's and he's been really prompting them to get ready to see who can scream the loudest when the president and the first lady come by. And we, of course, will be hoping that they'll be getting out of their seats because these are the prime seats that people paid a lot of money for, the blue section. And they have been very patient, but they've also been very enthusiastic. And, you know, I don't know if you've noticed this, Wolf. Tell me if you have. And I know you've covered many of these, but we've gone from seeing people with cameras in the stands now to phones in the stands. I'm surprised how many iPads I see taking pictures. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, everybody's taking pictures. Everybody wants to record this for future generations. They sense that this is history, and it is indeed history. Jim Acosta is right in front of the presidential limousine. Jim, tell us what you're seeing. I think he's making a right turn onto 15th Street. Is that right?
That's right. That's right, Wolf. He is making that right turn onto 15th Street. That Avenue, and where that meets the White House. And we're hopeful here in the President and the First Lady will get out. Can't guarantee it happen. But one thing you could say, Wolf, it's good to be the president. It's almost like being a rock star on every street corner of Washington on this day, because every time he hits a new intersection, the cheers go up on both sides of Pennsylvania Avenue. And, you know, for the president, it's just a whole new group of Americans to greet as he makes his way towards the White House. And I have to tell you, it's been pretty exciting to watch all of this unfold from the back of this flatbed truck. Every so often, you catch a glimpse just inside the limousine where you can see when he's inside the limousine, when he's inside, sort of bathed in that blue glow. He's waving to people, and you just kind of get that image in your image of history as it's unfolding right in front of us here.
Hey, Jim, I think you're breaking up a little bit as you get closer to the White House. There's more interference. There you see the president, the vice president. That's the vice president. That's the vice president with his thumbs, giving a thumbs up to people along both sides. The vice president and Jill Biden, they're in their limo. The president and Michelle Obama, the First Lady, in their limo. They're getting closer to where we are. They're going up 15th Street. Pretty soon they'll be making a left turn back onto Pennsylvania Avenue, and they'll be going right up to that reviewing stand right across from where we are. The military formations have already passed. You can see they're getting ready to receive the president at that reviewing stand, Kate. This is a specially built reviewing stand. They have spent a lot of time building this reviewing stand because the president then will want to see each of the marching bands, each of the floats, pay tribute. They all have a significant special meaning for him.
They all have a significant special meaning. There are 8 official floats that will be coming by. Some of them honoring Hawaii. There will be a Hawaii state float. There will be an Illinois state float. Obviously, the state where President Barack Obama was born, and Illinois, the birthplace of the First Lady, and of course, their home state. A Pennsylvania state float, the birthplace of Vice President Joe Biden, and also a Delaware state float. The Delaware, of course, is the home state of Vice President Joe Biden and the Second Lady, Dr. Jill Biden. So there will be floats honoring their states, but also honoring very significant moments in our history. There will be a Martin Luther King Jr. float, the float obviously honoring this very day, and many other floats that we'll be watching.
You see the limos. They're going right by the Department of Treasury, Jeffrey Toobin, right now. The Department of Treasury being literally right next door to the White House.
And I'm looking behind us at the reviewing stand. Some of the family members are taking their place. I saw Marion Robinson, Michelle Obama's mother. Her brother, Craig Robinson, are now seated waiting for the president and the First Lady. Jim Messina, the campaign manager for Barack Obama, was whipping up the crowd, pumping his fist. When you win the election, this is what you get.
Yeah, you saw the president's half-sister sitting in the front row over there. She's come in to see what's going on as well. So you got a lot of family, a lot of friends. These are really, when we talk about VIP, Jeffrey, these are the VIP of the VIP.
This is really good. You know, there's last year, 4 years ago, I was in the exact same location, and it was so cold that even though it was a very coveted seat, the people who were not in behind that glass and not in the heated area, they were taking off pretty soon. But today it's nice. Everybody's filling their seats, and the weather is really very comfortable.
All right, so he's still making his way along the Department of Treasury over there. Pretty soon that limo is going to be making a left turn and coming up right behind the White House onto the right in front of the reviewing stand. President will go in to the White House, and then maybe they'll freshen up a little bit before they go out to the reviewing stand.
It's always such a special moment when the president and the First Lady get out of the beast, the limousine.
Well, they're stopping right now.
We'll see if that happens one more time.
Because remember 4 years ago, they did get back out. Let's see if they do get back out right now.
I'll tell you, maybe it was just my impression, but as we were watching them walk this time, and then the limousine stopped for them to get back in, it almost looked like the president himself was not ready to get back in because he spent some time waving. I mean, you do realize from his perspective, this is the last time he's also going to be able to get this. So, and he had said leading in that he wanted to soak this up, this whole experience, because this is a very special moment for the family as well.
He wants to savor every minute. All right, the limo has stopped. Let's see what happens. The doors are now open. All right, the Secret Service is getting out. You know what that means. That means that the president and the First Lady, the final 100 yards or so, they're going to walk. They're going to walk into the White House. The crowd's right behind me over here. They are about to go crazy as the president, there he is. Oh my God, they're going to be so excited. Wait till they see the president and the First Lady walk the final 100, maybe 200 yards until they walk right into the north lawn of the White House and they go into that reviewing stand.
Well, if I think this verbate that we were passed along, that the president said as he was leaving the Capitol after the inauguration, going back into the Capitol, really hits home right now. He said, I want to take a look one more time. I'm not going to see this again. And you can say that again right now.
All right, let's listen and watch as the president and the First Lady walk towards the White House. Christy, Paul, I hope you can hear me. I know the president's getting very close to where you are. Do you see him?
I don't. Oh, yes. Actually, I do. He is right behind here. Obviously, the flatbed trucks. And Wolf, I don't know if you heard me before, but people are literally jumping up and down in the stands as they see him. They're pointing. They're snapping pictures. They're holding their babies high so they can see them as well. I do see the First Lady and the President now, and you can hear the crowd behind me. You have to wonder what this is like for him. You know, the last time around he did this, it was his first term. You never know if there's going to be a second term. So you have to wonder how different it feels this time for him. Now, I'll try to be ambitious here and ask him, but based on the crowd, I don't think he's going to hear me.
Hey, Christy, just go for it. Shout a question to the president. Ask him how he feels. Ask him how the First Lady feels, especially if you're. He'll hear you. He'll say something. Go ahead. Go ahead, Christy. Christy, did you hear?
I did. Okay, go ahead, Wolf. I think I can hear you now.
All right. Did you shout a question? Did he respond?
No. He was talking. He was kind of talking to the crowd as he was walking by, pointing fingers, waving. You can hear the announcer here, Charlie Brotman, as he announces the president and the First Lady walking right in the middle of the road there, obviously with the motorcade behind him. But people are, it's just so fun to see the reactions in the stands, Wolf, as people go crazy, waving. They've got people up here waving flags, and as I said, holding babies and literally jumping up and down, almost like they're at a rock concert. I think it was Jim Acosta who said he's like a rap star with every new block that he gets on, and that was a great analogy. They're just coming up now, Wolf, I think next to you as they get closer, just a few steps closer. They're just a couple of steps away here from the presidential viewing stand, and will be taking their seats. What do you see, Wolf?
I see the president right now. He's approaching where we are. I see the president and the First Lady. They're right over here with Jeffrey Toobin and with Kate Baldwin. I'm going to see if I can grab his attention. See if he wants to, maybe Mr. President.
He's not quite here
He's
yet.
not going to hear me.
We'll try, though.
It's very, very noisy over here. But
you can imagine why.
Yeah, he's literally getting closer and closer. He's getting closer to the reviewing stand where we are.
See him. Wave to him, Wolf.
Mr. President. Hey, Mr. President, how you doing? Let's see.
The crowd's going wild, obviously.
Let's see if I stand up.
Let's see if the president can see us. Mr. President.
Mr. President, how you doing? Hey, Mr. President. Let's see. This is Obama. I don't know if they see me.
I believe Michelle was cheering, "Yes, we can," as she was just walking past us, Wolf. They're walking past the reviewing stand right now. We'll see where they're heading.
You know, it's.
This is a unique thing even for you, Wolf. You've seen a lot of things.
I saw the First Lady. There's the First Lady over there.
What's this like, Wolf? What do you think?
Well, you know, we're spectators.
We sure are.
We're tourists here in Washington.
We're making a mess as well. Here, sit down.
I think this is
Sit down.
BlackBerry interfering with
It's
this.
okay. Sit down. So what do you make of this whole thing?
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. I got a lot of static.
At the reviewing stand, the United States Secret Service Uniform Division, under the command of Chief Kevin Simpson and the United States Service Color Guard, led by Sergeant Salvatore.
All right, we're back in business now. We're back in business. There's the president right now. It's a little strange to see what was going on. It was, look, this is history over here.
Absolutely. And I think it is so great that they get out of the car. You know, the people deserve to see their president, and it is so much better when they're walking rather than in that enormous car.
He seems pretty happy. She seems very happy. As they get closer and closer, they're going to be walking into the White House, and then they're going to go to the reviewing stand, Kate, and enjoy the parade like all of us.
You know what, Wolf? If you are in political life and this doesn't make you happy, you really picked the wrong profession. Because this is really pretty much as good as it gets. Screaming thousands of people.
Right, exactly.
At beginning your second term as president of the United States, this is good stuff.
I'm just looking back here at some of the fans, the spectators that are sitting behind us, and they're really all just kind of looking as if they're pinching themselves and taking pictures of each other, and they seem just as surprised as all as we were that the president walked all the way here.
And Jeffrey, you'll remember this is Pennsylvania Avenue. He's right in front of the north lawn of the White House right now, approaching 17th Street from 15th Street. And remember, this used to be a regular street.
That's
Cars
right.
could go by, but after the Oklahoma City bombing, they shut the Pennsylvania down to regular traffic, and there's no real traffic. There's Secret Service cars that can go up and down there.
Of those cars
People
right now.
can walk there, but no more traffic as a result of what happened at Oklahoma City.
And that was, of course, several years even before 9/11. That was 1994, and the city is less accessible than it used to be, and it's really a lot of Washingtonians. I'm not a native, but they really feel very sad that Pennsylvania Avenue is closed. That was part of living in Washington, that you could drive by the president's house, and you can't do it anymore. Although you can walk by, and
You can
tourists
walk.
do it all the time.
Yeah, do it all the time.
You can park at 17th and Penn and
Right.
go for a walk and walk in front of the north lawn of the White House, walk around and you can see what's going on. There's the Vice President of the United States watching, waving. They're all pretty excited. And they repaved Pennsylvania Avenue. You see how nicely it's paved?
Right.
Because there's no traffic there. It's just basically a pedestrian area where people can go and enjoy the White House. I don't know what it is. Dr. Jill Biden, have you seen Dr.
I
Jill
was
Biden?
just trying to see that as well. I couldn't see that actually. So now they will at some point make their way to the reviewing stand, and then the performances for them shall begin. And we know there's a lot ahead. But they really do seem to just kind of be soaking this all in.
I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to the marching bands. Did I mention I'm looking forward to the floats as well?
I don't think you mentioned it enough.
Wolf, you staked out a clearly pro-float
Yes,
position.
I
think.
Very pro-float. He's very pro-float in this show.
You like the Macy's Day Parade? You're a New Yorker.
I'm a New Yorker. I like the Macy's a lot. I like the floats.
Yeah.
You know, they have big balloons, but we're not going to have big balloons.
We'll have nice floats there.
Yeah.
Very nice, patriotic floats. A lot of red, white, and blue here at this parade.
We may
there she
even
is.
see a volcano on a float in my research I read. So
What's the volcano represent?
that will be on the Hawaii float.
Really, that's very exciting.
Yes. See, I am a endless, boundless fountain of knowledge on the floats this time around.
Done a lot of research on the floats.
Yes.
Well, so far we haven't seen any of those floats, but we will be seeing them.
We sure
And
will.
we're going to let our viewers enjoy this parade here. I think it's fair to say this is a special edition of the Situation Room.
I think it's
right
fair
here.
to say.
Very
And
special.
I think it's also fair to say that Vice President Biden is enjoying himself as well.
I don't
he
know.
sure looked happy when we just saw that image of him.
Vice President Biden, and you know this well, Jeffrey, always seems to be pretty happy.
You know, they are so different. I mean,
Look at him.
You know, Joe Biden was born to be a politician, sort of like Bill Clinton or even Chuck Schumer, who we saw so much of today. I mean, these are people who really live off this sort of interaction with crowds. Barack Obama is a little different kind of character. He is a more reserved, more cerebral kind of person, although he seems to be having a very good time himself, too.
Looks like they're going to get back in the limo for the final little drive into the White House. I guess that's what they're going to do.
It's worth looking at that door to that limo.
Yeah.
Look how thick that door is.
Thick, yeah.
Yeah. That's not a Honda.
That's not your typical Cadillac. That's a Cadillac.
Yes, it is a Cadillac.
That's not something that you just go and say, I'll take one of those.
Yeah, that's
you know?
right. But with a different paint job.
Yeah, give me the...
He really, he does not even look like he wants to get back in. He really does seem to be enjoying himself. Gentlemen, I would like to tell you might want to turn around right now because the Vice President and Dr. Biden are about to approach and pass us once again.
Let's see if we can do it again. Let's see if Joe Biden or
Give it the old
Dr.
college
Joe
try.
Biden will recognize and will say, I'm going to have to stand up. But once I stand up, all my wires here, they sort of fall apart.
He might be able to see him. They are very excited to see him.
Let's see if hey, I'm waving.
You're waving.
Mr. Vice President, come on up here. Talk to me. Hey, Mr. Vice President. I don't think he wants to talk to me.
I think he cannot hear you is probably what we're doing with.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Vice President.
From the presidential review.
Mr. Vice President.
The Vice President of the United States.
He's waving.
Joe Biden. And Dr. Jill Biden.
He's happy.
Yeah.
I think he was waving at Kate Baldwin. He was definitely not waving at me.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, of course.
I know. I don't like to brag, but very special day for them.
Barack Obama is has made his last passage on one of these parades. Who knows? Joe Biden may be back.
What do you think?
I think if it were up to Joe Biden, he'd be back.
Yeah.
I think he's older than he would be even older than Ronald Reagan did when he ran for president the first time. But look at him; he looks in great shape. Nobody likes it better.
He's doing a little rope line over there. He sees some young kids. He decides that he's going to improvise a little bit. He's right below us over here in our area.
Just what the Secret Service do not want to hear. The Vice President is improvising.
Right.
Yeah, this is, you see he's a natural born politician.
Oh, God.
This is Joe Biden in his element.
Yeah. Probably went just a little different than all those parades in Wilmington, Delaware. He probably used to do July 4th parades.
That was a member of the Secret Service saying, please, Mr. Vice President, don't run towards the side again. No, I'm just kidding.
He's having a good time.
Sure is.
And he's become so much more, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeffrey, the last few weeks, he seems to be everywhere, Joe Biden.
Well, and I think that really is, and it's no coincidence that people are talking more about his running for president. He closed the deal on the debt ceiling with Mitch McConnell. He was the spokesman for the gun initiative. These are high-profile roles that presidents don't have to give to vice presidents. This is how important Joe Biden has become in this administration.
They clearly have an incredible relationship. Gloria Borger just spent some time with the vice president. Gloria, if you can hear me, talk a little bit about what we're seeing right now.
I think you're seeing vintage Joe Biden. This is the Joe Biden that those of us who have covered him for quite some time know pretty well. I mean, it's unvarnished. This isn't his parade. This is not his parade, but he's kind of turning it into his parade. I think he knows, Wolf, that this could be his last parade unless he does run again, and he wouldn't commit to me one way or another. I think he's surely thinking about it, but we were talking here about how fit Joe Biden is for a man his age. And when I interviewed him in the old executive office building on Friday. Look at him run, and that's how he walks down the hall at the old EOB, and stops to talk to everybody, and irrepressible.
He's also a little bit of a goof. Like, he likes to have fun. When you have donors come into the White House who don't feel like they always get enough attention, and it's not the president's favorite thing to pay them a lot of attention. Sometimes Vice President Biden will pop out and suddenly they end up in his office and he's the one who's really taking care of folks, or a staffer whose family is coming to visit, who spent a ton of time. He's the one who shows the touch.
Enjoy a parade as much as he's enjoying this?
And here's the thing. Here's the thing about Joe
Yeah.
Biden. That Joe Biden is one of these. He's one of these sort of visceral, touchy, hug you politicians who comes up to you right in your face when he talks to you.
His heart is right out there.
Let's remember, he's lucky to be alive. He is in great health now, but he was at the abyss with the brain issue years ago, and he just loves this. And you see, he is the ultimate happy warrior, if you will.
Exactly.
He loves every part of politics. He loves getting into the nitty-gritty and cutting those deals with Mitch McConnell. He's been critical to the president in that regard, but he loves this stuff, and I think Gloria's right. In the front of his mind, he wants to run, and he hopes this is his parade 4 years from now. But in the back of his mind, he has to know he's 70 years old. You never know what twist will be in American politics. So like the president, very different personalities, but I think the thing we have seen, and Wolf and Kate, you've been closer to it, the thing we have seen front and center is they are both taking their time to soak this in and enjoy the moment.
He's running, he's doing laps on the parade route here.
Don't you think he knows the eyes of the country are on him?
Sure.
And at 70, he's showing just how vigorous he is, how much he enjoys politics.
Right.
He has sort of an infectious optimism and infectious happiness that goes with Happy Warrior.
And David, you know, the thing is, I think he's finally found his zone in terms of his job. The president and he have sort of figured out a relationship that really works for them, and I think he feels useful.
My sense is the longer he's in the public spotlight, the less Barack Obama's a lame duck.
Well, that's an excellent point. And I think if we're waiting now, with the president and the vice president on the White House grounds, they can go inside and freshen up a bit. Their family, friends, top aides are in that big reviewing stand out front. They will be in there soon to watch what is the main event of this part of the celebration, the parade. And you see that's the presidential reviewing stand right there, the White House right behind it. They put that thing up every 4 years, and it makes Pennsylvania Avenue a great place. This is our version of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and the president has the best seat right out front. As we wait for the parade, the moments, you talk about these two men, they're very different. Joe Biden will be interesting to watch in the next couple of years. In your interview earlier, just right out of the vice presidential playbook. Sure, I help out, but only because the president gives me the portfolio. Sure, they trust me, but only because they know the president will take any deal I take. I think one thing that'll be fascinating to watch, the president laid out some heavy lifts today. We now have Joe Biden and some other potential 2016 guys talking gun control, an issue Democrats ran from after Al Gore lost in 2000. Is there any point over the next 2 years where perhaps, like Clinton and Gore, suddenly the vice president's office starts to think, is this good for me?
Well, I think the one thing Biden said to me, and we're going to show this part of the interview later, is I said, is there any way you might not run? And his answer to that was, if the economy tanks, if things don't go well, it's not going to be great for me, was his sort of implication. If things work well, let's take a look at it then. And that's where they have to work together to turn the economy around, because that's, of course, what it's going to be about in 2016.
I assume even if he decided not to run, he would keep that a secret as long as he could, because that's his leverage, isn't it, David Gergen? We knew in the second term Dick Cheney was not going to run in the Bush years, and you saw he lost some foreign policy issues. In the first term, he was dominant. Condoleezza Rice won on some issues in the second term, and he was not a force, as big a force anyway, in the Republican Party, because people knew he was not going to be on the electoral battlefield.
I think that's right, John. And from his point of view, what he also is not, he has to worry not only about whether Hillary Clinton's going to get in, not only about his own age and health, he has to worry about the overall success of this partnership. He has a very strong self-interest in seeing Barack Obama succeed, because, as you well know, after 8 years of one party being in office, it's not easy to hold on to that office. Right. And one of the things that helped to elect George H.W. Bush at the end of Reagan was that Reagan went out on a high. He had some trouble in the second term, but he went out on a high, and that really helped Bush get elected. And I think that's very important for Biden, that President Obama succeed.
I just missed this one, but the last vice president before George H.W. Bush was Martin Van Buren.
Biden has constantly been in and out of the doghouse for saying things that he wasn't supposed to say for the longest time. And right now, he is in, as Gloria is saying, just the perfect sweet spot for him, because he has succeeded. The challenge is, I'm trying to emphasize this about the speech. We don't know what the president wants to do in his second term. There was such a litany of agenda items. It's, less is more. There was too much more in this speech, and that, I think, is the trap for him now, for Biden.
I think that it was a bold list the president puts out. The question is, what's the priority? What does he go to first? In the sweetest spot for the parade, Wolf Blitzer.
Across from that reviewing stand, we're waiting for the president and the first lady, the vice president, the second lady, the marching bands. They're all getting ready to start walking in front of that reviewing stand. You're going to see it all on this special edition of the Situation Room. We'll take a quick break as we await the president and the first lady. Our special coverage will continue with floats and marching bands and a whole lot more right after this. Floats.